me out of me. My love for you has brought me out of me. My love for you has brought me out of me. My love for you has brought me out of me. My love for you has brought me out of me. My love for you, 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 my
to be left. Now I'm back to myself. Who am I to keep on holding you from everything?
creatures of the night, evil creatures made of light.
We will discover in the end that our worst foe lies within, within. Our worst foe lies within. Our worst foe lies within.
Hello there, it is time for the Long Arena Clash Week 2. I am Stanley Greyheart Barker. I am joined by Stuart Sin McLeod, and our plan is to bring you only 20 people playing League of Legends tonight because they're the only people who weren't queuing for TFT before it went down. We are going to be seeing the Norfolk Nighthawks taking on the Bristol Smugglers, followed by the London Lionhearts against the Teesside Steelers.
And of course, we're going to see the Smugglers again after we saw them last week performing so well against the Rams. So they're looking to continue into 2-0. London is a team we talked about a bit last week as well. They're a team that's upgraded in the gap in between seasons and looks a lot stronger. We're excited to see how that team performs. So I'm definitely looking out. That second series looks to be a tight one against Teesside Steelers. Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly will be. I mean, the Steelers coming in, like you say, with that victory against the Nighthawks, who today we'll be seeing against the Smugglers. So they're going to be feeling confident. But the Lionhearts, they've got a bit to live up to after their strong performance last season.
Yeah, it's definitely looking to improve on it, though. They're looking to be more of a competitor to Portsmouth this time around. And I want to go back to the Bristol Smugglers, though, which is a team we watched a fair amount of last week. We saw them go 2-0, and it was really Zazel was one of the guys that I was looking at quite a lot to be a big carry for the team, and he was showing that on the Lucian. We talked about the laning phase where he was up against the Caitlin Morgana, and every single dash he was doing aggressively because he wanted to punish the opposing laners, and he wasn't letting himself get pinned down even by an oppressive bot lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you were excited to see the Smugglers because you got to cast them last week, but I didn't get that opportunity because we, of course, had the fabulous Maurits Chronicler Mucin in the hot seat last week in my place. Spoiler, he might even be back next week to join your wonderful self. So sorry to all the Greyheart fans out there, all one of them in chat. But yeah, I'm excited to see the Smugglers because we've essentially been forced now, Sin, to choose sides, to pick which teams we're going to be cheering for. And frankly, the Bristol Smugglers, they had me at a Kraken with an eye patch. So I'm a Bristol Smuggler all the way now.
I can see that. It's definitely a team that I was excited to watch, and it was Acadian pulling out the Vi pick as well. There's definitely some, and the Vel'Koz mid as well. There's definitely some interesting performances, and of course Super Duper on the Kennen in the top lane that made me kind of won over by the team. They were playing an aggressive style. They were being aggressive playmakers, and they weren't letting the game stagnate. They were constantly trying to force the issue. And I really appreciated how they weren't just sitting back and letting the Caitlin Morgana scale, and were just trying to punish it at every given opportunity, even with a short-range bot lane.
Let's see if we get more of the same out of that team tonight. One of the changes that we are going to see is in the standings, because last week it was obviously completely blank, whereas this week we get to see two teams at the top and two teams at the bottom for each group. In group number 1, we have got the Spartans and the Guardians with 1 win apiece. The Pirates had a bye week, so they haven't started the defense of their title yet. The Arrows and Centurions are resting on the bottom after their opening week loss.
Of course, if we look at group 2, you get to see the Smugglers, which we did get to see last week as they picked up the win. Steelers, who we're also going to see in that second series. And of course, the Lionhearts, another team that had that bye week. So two of the best teams that we were hyping up coming in, the Portsmouth and London, both coming in with bye weeks. So you get to see those two teams and how they stack up.
Coming into Group C, Claymores had the off week after failing in the attempt to reclaim their crown last season. They'll be looking to come back bigger than ever, but they will have to start that re-emergence today. On the other side, we can see that Brawlers and the Harriers, they picked up a win. Saints and the Swarm, they were on the other side of the coin. Not so lucky.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see how Claymores step up and pick up a win pretty soon, though.
And finally, we do see the Invincibles had their bye week. Hunters and Leviathans rest with 1 win apiece. The Vikings and the Enigmas are staring into the deep unknown with 1 loss.
Yeah, so we can see how all the groups are stacking up. Still very early on, as we can see most, even a quarter of the teams, or a fifth of the teams rather, haven't even played the games yet. So once that comes through, we can start to see how the teams do stack up against each other. We can start to see these big teams, like we're talking about, Clyde, former champions, Portsmouth, trying to retain their championship, and of course London, who we're hyping up as one of the favourites this time around.
All right, well, let's see whether or not they can live up to that tag. One of the things that's changing coming out of last week is, of course, the patch. We're going to be on the live patch, which is 9.13. Not only the introduction of teamfight tactics, but also Kiana will be stepping onto the Rift shortly. She's not around just yet, so we don't have to worry about seeing any new Elementalists as of yet. What we will be seeing for the first time here on Arena Clash, however, is the reworked Mordekaiser, which is now unbanned.
Yeah, so not quite any quinoa until next week, but the Mordekaiser is going to be here bringing the Realm of Death. And here's a pick that, although he doesn't have a lot of massive like team fight potential for just like landing a lot of CC, shredding people to bits, and then being like a Silas or something like that. He's still got a lot of split push potential because he can beat up a lot of people in the sideline. We did actually see a game of him last week against where they were trying to flex him away from a Tom Kench lane.
Okay.
So
I was misinformed. I thought he was banned away last week.
Yeah, we saw where he was. We saw basically Mordekaiser, especially in the midweek, just like a lot of them trying to play him top lane into these more melee matchups, shredding people down. You go for like the Rallies, Leandri's full tank. You become nigh unkillable. You've got the Conqueror to heal you up as well, and it becomes a really good split pusher. But you've got to get through that early phase if you are up against these more melee carries, and if you're up against a ranged carry, you're pretty much going to struggle to get on top of them at most points in the game without gank assistance.
Another split laner that has had a few changes to the kit in patch 9.13 is going to be Alawi. The mid-game spike is now slightly bigger. What do you make of that champion now?
I mean, giving Aloha Oi a 40% AP ratio on her passive was a bit of a big question mark there. I think she's a pick that a lot of people do have like in their back pocket as something they did practice a long time ago. So I think a lot of people are ready to pull that out into certain matchups. I think Mordekaiser is actually a pretty good matchup for it because you can take the tentacles into the death realm and get the healing from it. But the issue is she's just so abusable by ranged matchups.
That, of course, is always the question with Mordekaiser, a champion that bugs are more synonymous with than Kha'Zix. Will the tentacles actually appear in the realm or not? But only time will tell whether or not.
The Akali Shroud gets teleported into the realm of death was something I learned just earlier today.
There you go. All right, well, certainly some things are working as they're intended to. Some aren't, but the fact of the matter is that Mordekaiser is open. Whether or not we get to see it from any of these 4 teams today, that is another thing on altogether. Bristol Smugglers, you were saying how they did a great job with their bot lane matchups. The bot lane is probably the biggest focus of attention. Changes coming through to several champions. We've got Pyke, Sona, Karma, all getting hit slightly. Lux being left in a fairly strong place.
Yeah, so Lux support, still one of the strongest supports, but the issue that has been arising with the last couple patches now is Jat said to himself, Jat went, okay, so Lux and Morgana are 2 of the best supports right now, so's Nautilus. How do we counter this? How about we buff Karma? He gives Karma such insane buffs to the point where Karma is 100% present in all competitive regions, mostly through mid and top lane, because she's just that strong right now. They gave her way too much. They way overloaded the buffs. So she's a pick we have to watch out for today because the ease of execution of just poking your opposing laner out in any of the 3 lanes is so impactful, and it really can help somebody like a Caitlyn or a Sivir scale up.
Please correct me if I'm wrong here, Sim, but if I remember correctly, with this patch coming in, the small nerf to Karma was that they were reverting the changes made to the shield on the last patch. So
the empowered shield is still 2.5 seconds, but the lowered shield is only 1.5.
Okay.
So the Q buffs are still there. The empowered E buffs are still there, and the E shield strength is still buffed as well. So they've got a lot of buffs still on her.
Alrighty, well, we got our first opening glimpses there of a potential champ select coming as soon as possible. We'll be bringing you that game in its entirety just as soon as it all gets underway. Meanwhile, however, what do you make of the Pyke changes? Obviously, we've been seeing G2 to great effect in the LEC, playing it in pretty much every lane. I think only Jankos was left to play it, but now that's not really going to be the case as so much of its damage has been changed to minions on the Pyke kit.
I have actually been quite vocal about this in my discussions with people because Pyke is a champion that facilitated this really toxic style to League of Legends where you can basically just fight whenever you wanted and it didn't matter. You go take a 1-for-1, you take a 2-for-2, doesn't matter because Pyke killed someone with his ult. You get double kill gold for that. And the ally gets 300. Even if you're killing someone who has died 9 times and they're worth 50 gold, your ally gets 300 gold. It's just the gold injection into your allies, into himself, even if he doesn't get the kill with his ultimate, he can still get it if his ult is on the ground. And it just means that you can just take stupid fights time and time again and still come out with an advantage from them, regardless whether you went even or not. And that's it's a problem that needed to be addressed when you're giving him the massive amount of XP and CS for solo lane to then transition that into fights.
Well, it's one of those rare yet wonderful occasions, Sin, where I completely agree with you when it comes to Pyke. So I'm glad to see all of the changes coming through. And for what it's worth, I personally don't think they've changed enough about him as a support champion. I still think he is rather crazy.
I think as a support now, the fact that he's lost the E damage to minions and the Q extra damage. He actually gets no bonus damage on isolated targets. It means that his trading's a little bit hurt, but the minion changes are mainly meant to nerf his top lane potential for wave clear, especially once he gets Tiamat. So the support's still strong, and you can definitely still see the support, but it's not quite as easy as you just walk up to somebody, land the Q, they're slowed, and they take a ton of damage.
Yeah, definitely true. And it's still a champion that I prioritize banning in my own personal games because I just hate to see it.
For me, it's Udyr. That's the change I'm scared of. That is the change I'm terrified of.
That's obviously a champion that itself has had a lot of changes. We might come back to that one in a little while, but right now we can bring you straight into the action of the pick and ban, and it is indeed going to be the Pyke being locked in alongside a Cho'Gath, a Varus, and also Vi Orianna. On the other side of the rift for the Nighthawks, we're seeing Caitlyn Morgana, Kayle, Vel'Koz, and Zac.
See, if we're talking about TFT, there's not really any synergies anywhere here, but when you look on the rift, however... When you look on the Rift, however, there's a big amount of synergy when you can look at like the Zac plus Vel'Koz combination, where Zac's able to go into the backline, be a big disruptor, and Vel'Koz gets free time to ult off the back of it. We're looking at Caitlyn Morgana having a massive amount of pressure in the bot lane onto this Varus Pyke, forcing them under their tower early on, transitioning into the mid game where you can set up those Caitlyn traps onto towers and get effective sieges. And when you're looking at all the skill shot damage and the denial of engage that you have from playing a Kayle, this is really good for setting up a siege if they can get advantages through the early phase.
Yeah, one of the problems taking the Kayle is always, will it be able to get to late game? Is there enough dive potential? What do you make of what Cho'Gath and Vi can do to make Kayle's life hell in the early stages?
I think we've in the early stages, it's definitely easy to look at and go, okay, yeah, Kayle is going to struggle because Cho'Gath has that massive Q potential. She doesn't have a high base HP. Vi should be able to camp top, but the moment you see Kayle hit level 6, start to hit level 11 especially, that's where the matchup is just going to be nigh impossible for Cho'Gath to play because Kayle will have the bonus movement speed. She'll be able to constantly dodge out from those Q zones if she plays it correctly. And then it's just a case of they can't win the 2v2 against a ranged Kayle.
Okay, going into the mid lane, we're going to see the slight discrepancy in some spells. The flash teleport for Orianna in comparison to the flash barrier being picked up by Vel'Koz says to me that Vel'Koz is just a little bit more worried about Vi than Orianna is of the Zac.
Yeah, definitely so. Where you're looking at the dive potential of something like a Pyke, Vi, and even a Cho'Gath potentially roaming mid lane. There's a lot of things you need to be able to barrier. There's a lot of targets for that barrier. And Orianna, she's a burst champion in the end. She wants to land a big burst trade and then finish you off with auto attacks at the end. If you have the barrier to deny a big upfront part of that burst, you can turn around and try and kill her.
Okay, so all of that being said, what are your feelings? It certainly seems like the red side draft has seemed to pique your interest slightly higher than the blue side. Is that fair to say?
That's definitely fair to say, but I think the big points we have to look at is Cho'Gath early, Orianna in the mid game, because Orianna is a winning matchup into the Vel'Koz. And if they can win out those solo lanes, if they can pressure out those solo lanes consistently, that's how they're looking to win the game. That's how they're looking to snowball past the Kayle potential and make sure she can't even become a relevant carry.
All right, so if the game does extend, do you feel like it's just completely going to swing in the Kayle's favour?
I do think if the game stagnates and nothing happens for an extended period of time, it really highly favours the side of the Norfolk Nighthawks.
Okay.
The side of the Bristol Smugglers, rather, on the red side.
Yes.
On the red side here, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was just trying to work out the graphic right at the top.
Yeah, graphic is the wrong way around. That's it is the Bristol Smugglers on the red side, the Norfolk Nighthawks on the blue.
We've got some great folks on
Zazors and Super Duper. Yeah, all were playing last week for that team. Yeah. So Tegan, though, was a player that I know Chronicler was very outspoken about in terms of his level of play last week. He watched him play the Victor and was very satisfied with that performance. So I think that I'm looking forward to seeing him pull out this Vel'Koz again and try and see if he can get advantage on this.
Okay, well, the spectator delay is almost over. That means the teams will be logging themselves in. No time for TFT. It is, of course, now disabled on the EU West, so you haven't even got the option, which means why not come and watch some fantastic League of Legends here at Arena Clash, being brought to you from the Belong gaming arenas around the country.
Yeah, and of course, now we're going to be getting into pick and ban. Getting into game pretty shortly. We've seen the pick and ban. We've seen the draft, and I do have to say that I am going to favor Bristol here because I think that the game is not going to stagnate. It is not going to be aggressive early. It is going to stagnate unless we see Winwell on the Vi really put a ton of pressure down and snowball the game through the early phases, pin the Kayle down in lane, pin the Vel'Koz down to the point where they can kill Vel'Koz repeatedly. It's going to be really difficult to make anything happen because you can't really change what's going to happen in bot lane. Vi can't really get into a Caitlyn Morgana lane and do anything about that when the Caitlyn Morgana is pushing out the Varus consistently.
Yeah, Sin, if this were like a decent Elo solo queue game, I think I'd have to favour the Nighthawks because of the fact that they could accelerate the game a little bit more, lots of pick potential coming in.
Yeah,
however,
if we're talking the best of the best players in the world, then I would probably favour the Nighthawks because they have the ability to be more proactive.
Exactly.
Yes, I agree. But however, as you're saying, yeah, coming down to mid diamond on some of these teams, you just got to think that they're going to want to play it safe. That it's early in the season, they're not really sure about being a hyper aggressive team yet. So when the game does stall out, it's like you're saying, yeah, they're given the opportunity to play these scaling picks.
And the fact is that, as well, we're looking at a team, one here in the Bristol Smugglers, who are 1-0. We saw them with their victory last week against the Rams. The Nighthawks, on the other hand, they're coming off the back of a loss to the Steelers. The Steelers themselves are a very good team. However, Nighthawks already with their back to the wall, knowing that they've still got to play against the Lionhearts later on.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line here, not in terms of really we're looking at the overall scope of this decides the season, but it really shows where these two teams sit and who gets to compete for those top spots in the group and who is really looking down the bottom. If Bristol picks this one up, you have to be really worried for the Nighthawks. But if Bristol is looking to win this one and go 2-0, maybe they can look towards the top of that group. Maybe they can look to challenge London. Maybe they can, especially if they find a 2-0, being 4-0 in game score. I'd definitely be looking at this team as one to watch.
Yeah, completely agree with you. Even though it's only week 2, you could have a team who was, already in danger of not being in with a chance of making it out of groups, and one team who are already looking to cement their positions. So let's see which of those two things is going to happen. Are we going to have the Nighthawks bouncing back, drawing level with the Smugglers on their total score, or will it be the Smugglers extending their lead? Let's go Smugglers!
Okay.
Sorry, hashtag no caster bias.
No caster bias here at all. Yeah, I mean, like it's to be fair, we always have those moments where there is bias that shows, and it's interesting because I hear people like Captain Flowers talk about whenever he casts Tuscana, he gets super excited just to see his favorite champion, and he'll always support whoever's playing it. But as an Evelynn main myself, I just can't relate to that because I hate watching people play Evelynn. I watched somebody like Spirit play it when he played it for Afrika last year, and it was painful to watch that. It was so painful to watch because he just made so many blatant mistakes where he was just trying to abuse the champion and didn't understand what it did. But we're in game now. We can see already a couple minutes in, laning phase shaking out. And we're going to see what this Kayle can do, because if you can use the E and the Q effectively to hold the wave back, hold back the Cho'Gath, and deny him access to just landing Q after Q onto you, you can pressure up. You can scale into it pretty decently.
We didn't get to see the early leashes, but both junglers starting on the bottom half of the map. Zac now transitioning, going over towards his Raptors, trying to use as much of that AoE to get himself a lead as possible. Vi, meanwhile, decide to go straight over to the Krugs, making the most of that bonus XP that can come through the slightly higher monsters in the red, higher XP monsters in the red side of the jungle.
And you see that's what Zacadian's trying to do as well. He just wanted to start the blue buff first, but what it does mean, because he didn't start on the red, on the top side, on the red buff side, he was trying to give Super Duper the ability to play the lane a little bit easier, but he loses out on the ability to just simply fight blue buff and Gromp at the same time, which is something Zac is adept at. It's one of the ways that he can accelerate his clear a lot faster than some other junglers, because he can do that, and now he's lost access to that. It's a little bit more difficult for him to keep up in clear speed with a Vi.
It is indeed an interesting one for Vi. They're noticing the 10 minion score. I just wonder if maybe she took a couple of the Raptors, but then decided to leave the rest of them alone.
She was just in the middle of a wolf camp, that was all.
Okay, fair enough. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you very much. This is why you're the analyst and I'm the play-by-play.
Actually,
it's because you have eyes.
I'll be completely frank here. It looks like she left a couple of the minor Krugs and then went on with her day. She left
that's what I thought it was. Maybe
that's why she's on 14 rather than 16. Yeah.
No one wants me to be the analyst, especially not me. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, the health bars are fairly decent for both members of the Nighthawk squadron. However, they are definitely getting poked out, and Zeyzor seems to be having a slightly happier time in lane than Greasy Jon Snow on this Varus.
I'm going to say, though, that was a nice binding It does lead to
That's
a
going
big
to
chunk.
lead to the trap. The heal is used. The ignite is burning Greasy Jon Snow down. And in the end, it's going to be an auto attack coming in from Caitlyn. Pyke trying to get a return kill, throws the ignite down, but is going to get caught out by the binding. It's a 1-0 for the Bristol Smugglers, and they get first blood in this game.
And this is what happens when Caitlyn Morgana lands a single skill shot. That binding lands. You get hit by a Caitlyn trap. You get hit by all the damage. And it's already at only level 3. Greasy Jon Snow is feeling the full might of this lane.
He certainly is, and this is going to lead to him having to go back, just picking himself up a longsword, a control ward, and some potions. Meanwhile, Caitlyn completes the back and already has a pickaxe.
A really nice start for the Caitlyn now, having this strength that we can see is already going to allow her to get a couple tower shards pretty soon. If they can keep this pressure up, if they can find another big chunk, they don't even need to necessarily get a kill, but already in the mid lane.
This is going to be Vi going in, trying to get some summoner spells out of the GN, but it is not going to be effective. It's just going to burn down the health bar a little bit.
Yeah, just getting a nice chunk onto him, but he's low on mana and he's got a big wave stacking up against him, so I would be looking for a return if I was the Vi here, because you can force him off of this entire wave, force him to be behind his tower, lose out on the wave and experience, but instead, it just seems like they're going to try and utilize it to just get a little bit of poke in and back away.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's pretty good decision making so far coming through.
You don't even need to dive though. I think I actually prefer that. Like if you're looking for a return gank there, it's not to blow any summoners, it's not to get the dive. You just walk mid as Wunwa, hold there, and force the wave under tower where you deny maybe even half of the minions from taking to the point where he has to sit behind his tower, maybe even out of XP range as some of them, and you can really hard punish him for that and get a really nice reset off, knowing he's on 0 mana. So you can get a big punish off, but instead just choosing to go and farm the blue buff and backing off gives Tegan away back into the game, and now he has a CS lead and still gets a good timing on his base.
On the plus side for Wunwa, at least, he has got himself a decent CS advantage against Acadian's Zac. He's opted for a slightly interesting build, going straight away for that Chilling Smite option, but also getting boots and a cloth armor. Quite an unusual start for a Vi.
And definitely unusual. It seems... Oh.
Force Stun is not going to connect because of the Black Shield coming in. Chilling Smite also is not going to be used to any great effect. Zazor's able to get to safety. Really well-timed Black Shield from the Morgana.
Yeah, able to get out alive and not have to worry about it. But you can see the potential engage that Pyke still holds on to. If he can land even just the Q, he can get a full combo off into the E. Really hard pressure out this bot lane, but all the while you can see that Zazos and Addy, they're happy to still get the CS lead for themselves. They're happy to keep pushing in, and they're not really being pressured all that much in the grand scheme of things.
Sin, one thing I really don't like is all this time that Vi is spending in the bot lane, in the mid lane, in her own jungle, is not being spent in the top lane. And currently this is just a free farming lane for Super Duper.
It had such an easy setup as well. You land the Q from the Cho'Gath into like a W, she suddenly can't flash away, and then Wunwa lands the easiest Q of her life, and that should be a simple kill onto the Kayle early on, but instead, now she's been able to hit level 6, she has a decent amount of wave clear, you can see the mana now stacking up, gone for the Sheen into the tier, so you're going to be able to scale, going to be able to push effectively by spamming these abilities, and I think that you honestly start winning that lane right now if you're Kayle.
Acadian and Wunwa there, just duking it out, trying to get himself scuttle grab. It goes over to the Bristol Smugglers jungler in the end. Meanwhile, looking at the CS advantages, the biggest one noticeable is the Caitlyn, who not only has the 15 CS lead, but also the kill over the Varus. Now the binding is going to connect. There's the trap. It's going to be Zazor's getting another headshot, throwing the ace in the hole. This time we're going to see Pyke able to protect the ADC, but once more, potions being burnt through. That Varus had 4 potions a moment ago. Now he has none, and Zazor's will turn his attention towards the turret plating.
Yeah, they're going to get this plate now because they can zone them off of the wave so effectively. They should be able to get this one, and that's a cool 80 gold each. Well, no, straight 160 gold onto Zazor's as well, even better. Snowballing this Caitlyn, because we know once Caitlyn hits attack speed boots plus 1 item, she wants to start getting ready for a lane swap. She wants to start being able to head herself up to the top side, get a second tower in the game, roam mid lane, get set up for a third tower, and then there's just no way to engage when you have the massive amount of disengage from the Morgana.
Let's see whether a nicely timed Black Shield will be enough to save the Morgana. We might have to come back to that final moment as we've got ourselves
for a moment,
a small
it like the base was going to
issue here.
explode.
It doesn't look like anybody's going to die. The flash was burned and the heal used by Zazor's. It's going to be Zazor's going down to Wunwa. AD is going to escape with his life having burned the flash, but he loses the ADC in the process.
And Zazor's holding on, just trying to keep Addy alive, using the heal to do so, and it does end up meaning that he loses his own life. But they still have an advantage. They're still up 15 CS. They have the Tower Shard, and he should based and picked up a BF sword for himself.
All right, that is indeed the BF sword being picked up very, very close to the Infinity Edge for Caitlyn. And obviously, we're in a patch where the Essence Reaver is now, that I believe it's that little bit more expensive, so not being purchased quite so early. People like the Caitlyn who are looking for the double Zeal items, that little bit stronger, gonna hit their power spikes that little bit quicker.
Yeah, and all up in the top side as well, it's just the what the Kleptomancy can do for a Kayle is so big, especially when you look at potentially picking up like the skill orbs as well to be able to get to that level 11 just a little bit quicker, can be really essential to getting the rank 2 ultimate, getting the ability to just stay alive that much easier. And as we see Shadow getting ganked in the mid lane, really nice binding!
Elastic Slingshot didn't land, but like you say, the Dark Binding was on
prediction
point.
Binding!
Yeah, that was really, really sweetly played. And despite the Flash being burned by Shadow and also attempting, I believe, to even get the Shockwave out, not able to save his own life. Now that's going to lead to the Dragon being started up by Bristol. They've got themselves a kill lead, a gold lead, and now they're going to get that regeneration.
Yeah, really nice, really nicely done from the Morgana there. I really have to give credit to Addy, just holding his nerve, predicting the flash, landing a key binding to get them to kill. Also gets them the dragon off the back of it because they have that control. Wunwa tries to get into the pit, but it's just a little bit too little too late.
We talked about Smugglers having the ability through this bot lane especially to be able to ride out what might potentially be a rocky early game having a champion like this Kaylin. They are doing that to great effect so far.
Definitely so. So just being able to stall out where they need and play aggressive where they need, it's led the Bristol Smugglers to have a comfortable position in the game. They know they're scaling, they know they have this Kayle that will arrive into late game fights, and even if you want to just put an ult onto a Caitlyn and have her play hyper aggressive, that is an option. If you wanted to ult herself, it's actually less efficient since the changes. You can't just press R on yourself and then spam the high attack speed autos on people. You want to be ulting an ally as they're doing the high DPS, and you can even do what they did in the trailers as she puts the ult on her sister as she runs into the enemy backline.
And we'll see whether that happens. The what is it? Divine Redemption now on top of the Soul Shackles. One of the things I really love about this Kayle change, and I feel like it's a little bit of an understated thing about Kayle now, is the visual change that you get as the levels progress. So Kayle now having got the set of wings, will be gaining a helmet soon as she gains those power spikes.
I mean, I just love the like, I know a lot of people didn't like Aetherwing Kayle and they weren't too fond of the new design, but it's just all the Judge Dredd references she makes in her voice lines completely sold me on it. And
I hadn't noticed that myself. What do you get?
She just, of course, the basic things like "I am the law," "Judge, Jury, and Executioner," all these sort of voice lines which is very reminiscent, and the whole idea that she's the embodiment of the law because she is the Justicar. I thought it was a nice touch, and it really thematically fit the champion. People just didn't like the new design.
That's fair enough, and something that Bristol Smugglers might not be liking is the fact that Rift Herald was picked up free and easy there by Vi. Wunwa will be able to pop that one down into a lane of his choosing to try and get as many of the turrets played as possible. We are still a minute and a half before those fall off, so much gold is still to be had.
Zazor's playing hyper-aggressive in lane again. This is the same thing we saw last week, but no fear from him. Lands a trap onto the Pyke, and is instantly walking into Q range just to land an auto, then E out immediately. This is so ballsy, and I'm loving watching this bot lane. This is really exciting to see, and I can't imagine it's going to get any easier for the side of
Flash away
Nightwatch
from
to get this
Zazor,
on.
getting himself out of danger. The Shockwave was almost on point. The Roam down from Shadow really could have been to great effect, but so far, both ADC and support of Bristol Smugglers have been perfectly timing their summoners.
Definitely so, and unfortunately there was that dive in the bot lane that did go a little bit awry for them, but other than that, it has been near perfect. And I gotta say that this seems like a bot lane to watch. This seems like the players to watch in this group, because this is two series in a row now where they've played matchups that should not be that easy to play around. In terms of the Pyke matchup, they do have a winning matchup this time around, but they're still playing around this Pyke's aggression so well in perfect denial, in aggressing at the exact right times to be able to punish the cooldowns as well.
That aggression is coming through now because Pike decides to dash into the Dragon Pit. Has got the vibe for company. Will they let it engage? The knockup is going to land onto 2, but here comes the elastic slingshot. Stretching strikes are going to connect. Now the flash forward, that's going to pull Vi back. She's caught between a rock and a hard place. Takes the blast cone over. Heel's going to keep her safe for a while, but that's going to be Thagan getting the first kill of this dramatic fight. Meanwhile, Arcadian not even going to drop down to blood form despite the damage coming through from the Oriana ball. Now it's going to be Thagan going towards the Varus, managing to get the slow. The Arcade Comet is going to connect. Greasy Jon Snow has nowhere to run, and for the second time the Q connects. Geometry Simulator played perfectly.
And Thagan, he cleans up that fight so well. He played that perfectly and just landing every single skill shot. It's super duper. He has to use the ult to stay alive in topside, but in doing so is buying the time for his team to just get that bot lane tower for free.
Is going to be a lot of gold now in the pocket, especially of the Caitlyn, who's got a 20 CS lead, has the kill, will be completing the Affinity Edge, and possibly even the Berserker Greaves on top of it.
And one of the things we got to look at here, though, is looking at the top lane. This isn't just your ordinary. Oh my god, he cancels it. Oh, Thagan, he cancelled the Rift Herald.
That is a brave step forward, given that there were 3 members of the Norfolk Nighthawks there. But my God, it paid off, Sid.
Yeah, not just a small step, a giant leap that he's able to make for his team in punishing that, denying the Rift Herald, and getting the pressure back into the mid lane. Just when it seemed like Nighthawks had a window of opportunity off of the reset of the Caitlyn to get back onto the map, it is too late for them. And Thagan, he's really showing up. He's able to put a lot of pressure down. From his plays on this Vel'Koz, and it's the same thing we saw last time he played it.
It's a really frustrating thing to get past the time where the plates have fallen off and you've not been able to put that Herald to good use.
Yeah,
it's another so even more infuriating thing to do, to actually not even get any rushes down from it.
But you gotta say, it's still one of the most satisfying things you can do in League, just deny it. As that was a very, very questionable VIQ as she misses a stationary target.
Oh, everyone's going everywhere. There are people completely on the wrong side of the river for the 2 teams. And once again, this dragon side of the river is going to be where we're going to see a big fight breaking out, as this mountain dragon is unlikely to go uncontested.
Super duper, though. He's actually able to get a decent amount of pressure now in the top side. I'm waiting to see how long this Muramana takes to stack up. But there's Acadian.
Elastic Slingshot is going to be going in. That's going to be the spell shield, keeping Acadian alive. We're still not going to see him go down to Bloodborne. Now we are going to see that, but it is going to be Shadow getting the kill onto Morgana. Nice use of the shockwave, but 2 returned by the Vel'Koz. The mid laners are completely and utterly popping off in this fight. Elastic Slingshot is going to get the kill onto Greasy Jon Snow. That one goes over to Zazels, but not before he finally got the shutdown onto the Vel'Koz. But that is a 6-1 Vel'Koz who already has Ludens, already has Sorcerews, and now he's going to have even more damage onto the turrets and neutral objectives, because this is going to be Mountain Drake going over to the Bristol Smugglers.
He's not just styling on them, he got 2 kills with 1 Q. That's the collateral damage kill there. That was incredible from the Vel'Koz, as now he's popping off completely in this game. And 6-1, you've got to be terrified for this. He is diveable, he is burstable, you've got to look at him as a target. But if you're investing all your resources to get rid of the main damage of a Vel'Koz, you're denying the Caitlyn, you're denying the Kayle. This is a heavy multi-threat comp that is going to be so hard to deny as the game goes on, because the Vel'Koz has been able to pick up these kills.
Yeah, we are going to see the Orb of Oblivion picked up by the Vel'Koz, but look at what's being picked up by the Kate, deciding not to go straight into the Berserker Greaves, instead picking up the first of those two Zeals that she'll need to get towards that 75% crit.
Ooh, nearly lands the binding, but just a little bit off. You can't say that was a bit of a miss more than a dodge, but still, just having this constant bombardment of skill shots from this comp is what's going to allow them to siege up effectively. Pretty soon, you can see that Kayle is getting closer and closer to taking down that top lane tower. They're going to be able to push Vision deeper into the enemy jungle, transition into playing around these neutral objectives of more dragons and the Baron coming up in just 2.5 minutes. You've got to be looking towards that as the aim.
Silence is going to connect on Super Duper, but there is only so far that this Cho'Gath can go. Obviously using his Feast just to go on towards the neutral monsters, towards the minions at the moment, getting himself up as close to the 6 stacks as he can. There are people right now in Twitch chats saying this game is over, and with the soul shackles being put down onto Shadow, it does feel like the Bristol Smugglers want us to believe that completely. We are going to see another pickup of the kill there for Zazels, and now we're going to see Wanwa and also Krusty trying to fight off the Zac, who just goes, you know what, I've got a Thorn Mail, I'll walk away from this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think they saw the Vel'Koz sitting in that brush and went, yeah, I'm not sure we want to buy into this fight right now. The AoE damage he could put down is immense. And this team, we said they wanted to get to a point where they could set up sieges. Now is the time as the binding lands.
It flashes in a straight line. The binding connects. We are going to see Chains of Corruption put down to Vel'Koz, but he's able to get himself away, not even having to use the flash or the barrier to keep himself alive. Now we have complete mid lane pressure for the Bristol Smugglers.
I'm not sure who to credit with it, Bristol or Norfolk, but the fact that top lane has been such an island this game has been so beneficial to the Kayle. There's been no attempt at ganking her. There's been no attempt at stopping her. So it just means that she's still scaling up. She's building a CS lead. And while the rest of the team's getting a lead as well, she's going to walk out into these team fights and be a huge threat.
Shockwave is going to land on Zazors. That's going to be the shutdown as Orianna gets the kill with a little bit of help. Sultan Battery is going to land, forcing the flash out of the Vel'Koz, who does have the life form disintegration ray available, and there it is, ripping through the health bar of Onwa. That's going to be getting a nice easy kill. Kayle has joined the fight for the first time in this game, and now is chasing down the meaty Cho'Gath, deciding to turn away from this one. The binding yet again landing onto the Varus. If I had a pound for every single time that Morgana binding had landed, I could retire a happy man.
And you can see what they're doing here with the Lethality Varus as they land a big amount of poke onto the Kayle. They wanted to just deny these poke champions, deny the siege more effectively by stopping them before it starts. But instead, what it's been leading to is just the this Varus just being pinned down because he doesn't really have the ability to exist in skirmishes. He only really has the ability to exist in the neutral game where he can land these Qs from long range, never having the pressure on him. But pressure is something that Bristol is not letting up, so he's not being given the time to accumulate this damage and force them off of objectives. Instead, he's the one being forced off.
The third and final outer turret drops, and the Bristol Smugglers have themselves a 7,000 gold lead just after 20 minutes. Baron is now on the table, and already you can see the Nighthawks are turning their attention towards the Vision because they can't leave the Smugglers alone with that Baron for very long. They could shred through it so very fast.
And so now, yeah, the high damage AD carry that they've got now, she's got the 2.5 items, the half item being the boots there. And still the both stopwatches in the bot lane. You got to look at that as the amount of pressure they have, where they can play aggressively and not be caught out by the likes of a Cho'Gath and a Vi. Can be so big for them to be able to set up this Baron Vision, play it a little bit more aggressively, but aggressively it is.
Of all the people I thought I was going to get burnt down, Cho'Gath was the last one on my list. That is the mightiest, meatiest member of the Nighthawks being absolutely dismantled. There is going to be another dragon on the table very, very shortly, but with complete control of the Baron zone, we might see the Smugglers start this one up or possibly bait it out.
But Stan, we have to acknowledge that Cho'Gath is meant to be this big tanky frontline for the team. Zero magic resistance to speak of at that point. He's only now just built a null magic mantle. As currently you see Zazors being hard pressured.
Frosty does manage to go for the execute, but the death from below is not going to get the kill. Instead, Shadow manages to finally pick it up. It is a 1-for-1 return, which, considering the pick was made by the Nighthawks, is not what you want. Shadow has to flash away. The Chains of Corruption are going to stop Akaadian in his tracks. I don't know if he has the blood form available. We may find out in a few moments, but we may not have to, because yet again, Zac walks away. All the time, Kayle was pushing in the bot lane and picked up a turret, still pressuring in that Cho'Gath. Here comes the life form disintegration ray, and Tegan is unstoppable. 11, 1, and 2.
This man is showing up huge this game with 11 kills to speak of. You can look at this man. He's got the 2 expensive items. He's building more AP. He's only going to become a bigger threat. This isn't a guy who scales off. This is a late game hyper carry that they are essentially playing around, especially when he can't be dove and killed because you have the Morgana shield and the Kayle ult to keep him safe. Tegan is set up to hard carry these late game fights. 2
people have to go down to the bottom half of the map to just try and deal with the Kayle, who almost steals a red buff on her way out, and this leads to easy turret pressure for the Bristol Smugglers. They don't quite manage to take the turret, and they do get caught out with a bit of damage from the Shockwave, but look at the return of damage. Immediately, Vel'Koz completely dominating the situation, and now the Infernal Dragon has been started up by the Bristol Smugglers. They turn their attention towards the Cho'Gath. He throws the silence down. He's got the shield from the Command Protect, and that's going to lead to Kayle getting killed before she can even throw the ultimate down. Now there's a catch onto Zazor as well. A double kill for the Cho'Gath, but the life form disintegration ray will return a kill as the it's actually a double kill. That's just Cho'Gath and Pyke getting absolutely melted. A 2-for-2 in yet another situation where the Smugglers look like they were the ones who were going to be caught out. Instead, they get a 2-for-2. They're probably going to secure this dragon for themselves as well. boosting all the damage that's going to come through from Tegan, from Zazors, and from Super Duper, and things are only looking up for the Bristol Smugglers.
And it was a massive overextension from the Smugglers. They got, rightfully so, punished 2-for-0 in that skirmish, where the Kayle and the Caitlyn are far too far forward, walking into the enemy jungle without a vision set up, and they get punished hard for it. But immediately, it doesn't matter, because Tegan just finds 2 kills with just the 1 ult, and is able to, on his own, turn it into a 2-for-2, and get the dragon off of the back of it, just off of the immense pressure he can provide with just 1 ability.
And the man is playing so well, I think we have to, we have to show him some love and not tilt him. I have been informed that he goes by the name Thane, not Tegan. So,
Thane.
He's playing so well, we might as well say his name, right?
Thane is not what I would think of when I see that name, but I will respect it nonetheless.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that one.
But we can say that Thane's sitting on 1,000 gold bounty at the minute. So if they kill him, they get the 700 gold bounty on top of the 300 just for the kill itself. This is pretty rough to deal with when you can see you've just not been able to punish him since those earlier phases. You've not been able to get the kill on him, other than that fight where he got 3 kills instantly on the bottom side.
Pyke goes to Ward and almost gets himself caught out. Those stretching strikes, it connects onto the Baron a moment sooner. Pyke could have been pulled back to his doom. Instead, he's just going to have to once more yield vision in the Baron pit. And this time we have got 4 members once again encircling. It is one more who just continuously has to keep pushing up, trying to get some vision down, trying to deny the Baron from the Bristol Smugglers. But at this point in the game, I'm not even sure they need it.
But they need to be utilizing these sweepers a bit better, because currently the vision is just being allowed to be set up. They're not trying to find picks. With this composition that is so adept at it, if the enemy is walking into the fog of war, and once again you see them walk over a ward, and they're forced to because they're just not quite clearing it well enough. If they get to a point where they can deny the full vision, it's so easy for them to just, off of the back of somebody stepping on a Caitlyn trap, somebody walking into a knock-up from a Vel'Koz, instantly dying off the back of it.
Level 15 Kayle pushing hard in the bot lane. Meanwhile, the Baron was started up, but this could be a touch premature. We're going to see teleport coming in. This is going to be Kayle joining the fight. Lifelorn Disintegration Ray is going to get Thane onto his 14th kill of the game. Meanwhile, the Vi is absolutely obliterated. That was by that Lifelorn Disintegration Ray, and Cho'Gath not going to be able to get himself a piece, not going to be able to get a kill. And now all 5 people from the Bristol Smugglers are here. They're at the Baron. They want the buff, and they look like they're going to get it for everyone.
They're able to win the fight, but you've got to say it was a sloppy-looking fight. When you have this much of a lead, when you're looking at 9,000 gold in the lead, and you have these scaling picks, it shouldn't be this close. Norfolk Nighthawks are still being given windows to get back into this.
Super Duper using the ult, trying to keep himself alive. We are going to see Baron secured, and that's going to be a kill onto the Orianna, who just goes a step too far forward. Flash being burned by the Baron, trying to keep himself alive, but Zazors follows Flash for Flash, gets himself a kill, says, you know what, we can't give all the glory to Thane, I want some myself.
Yeah, they've managed to get the Baron. They're managing to pick up these kills off the backside of it, but you can see that they were having some issues for a while, and maybe this might not affect this game so much as they are so far in the lead. They have the Baron buff. They're likely to end it in the next few minutes. But Norfolk have to be looking at the second game and looking at these sloppy team fights. And when they want to play a pick composition like this, it's all about target selection, layering abilities on top of each other, making sure that you are securing a target instantly at the start of the fight, and then can pick up a fight 5v4, 5v3. And unfortunately for them, they've just been very slow in terms of their target selection. They've been very split up in terms of the target selection, and it's meant that there have been windows to pick up kills back. And with how far ahead this Vel'Koz is, with how easy it can be for him to just land one ability and kill people, with this much pressure that they've got and the vision they should have on the map, there should be no windows at all for Nighthawks to even come out even in a fight.
I worry for the Nighthawks slightly. It feels slightly like they're playing with the fear of already being 0-1 down in the Belong Arena Clash group stage already, knowing that
you have to be at this point. You
dangerous...
have to be looking at what the next game can hold.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that, they're already knowing they're in a lot of danger of not being able to make it out of the groups, and it feels like they're playing with that fear. I wanted to see them be more proactive, especially up in the top lane, but it just hasn't happened for them. And like you say, the picks haven't been selected correctly in this game, and that's why I feel like we need to see some adaptation coming into Champ Select of Game 2, if this game is to continue in the way we think it will.
Caesar in the top lane, you can see that he was able to actually have a lot of lane pressure in the early game. He was able to land a lot of these key ultimates to allow him to play aggressively, allow him to punish Super Duper for those early parts, but Super Duper, he's still so strong.
He flashes away from the shockwave, but it gets pulled back by the Bone Screw, who's already used the ultimate, and that's going to lead to one by getting a kill. But while this is happening, Inhibitor is already going to fall. One in the top lane, and probably one in the mid lane too. Baron empowered minions coming in towards the base. The teleport is used by Shadow, but he's already half health on the back of that fight. Now here comes the Cho'Gath, doing everything he can to help save his base. 2 inhibitors are destroyed, and now only 1 inhibitor turret, 1 inhibitor, and 2 Nexus turrets remain between the Bristol Smugglers and their first win in this series.
And there's the old lose-lose situation we talk about. They make the right play in killing the Kayle while she's out of position, but they lose on the map because of it.
And they're going to lose themselves yet another turret. They're going to lose themselves Cho'Gath once more. Thane is pulled back. He's in a bit of danger here, and is in fact going to get shut down by the Pyke. But look at the kills being returned. The Bristol Smugglers are going to pick up so very much. Double kill already for the Caitlyn. She looks to get more. Going to throw the ace in the hole down and get herself that one nice and easy.
This should be it.
It is going to be the game as well, as the third inhibitor is going to fall. This is going to be 1-0 in this best of 3 series. The Bristol Smugglers continuing their domination from last week, and now they are only 1 game away from being 2-0 in Belong Arena Clash.
And the scoreline might say differently, but it was far from a perfect game, and we can see windows for Norfolk to maybe play around in the second game. At Bristol, they perform dominatingly when they are given these windows. If you see Norfolk make a mistake, it gets capitalized on instantly. They get punished, they get blown wide open, and that was the strength of Bristol Smugglers this game.
And we saw there both Thane and Zazels, the 2 carriers, doing a lot of work, and Super Duper on the Kayle as well. But let's give a shout out to the excellent kill participation coming in from the Zac, who so many times lived on so little health, just getting himself away, not even having to use his passive. And if you're going to name yourself after an LCS pro, you better do a pretty good job. And Acadian did a pretty good job in this game.
Hey, he definitely was very impactful on the Zac, and I gotta say, it did seem like in the early game especially, a bit of better jungler wins, because you're playing a Vi, you need to go aggressive early, you need to punish this Kayle that is looking to hyperscale on the top side, you need to punish the Vel'Koz. They attempted to gank mid, the gank completely failed, and you just saw the Kayle allowed to free scale the entire time. So it got to a point where Cho'Gath couldn't hold the side lane, when if you'd looked at that lane a bit more, if you'd ganked maybe a couple times for that lane, there were windows for the Cho'Gath to then snowball into the mid lane, where we talked about if a Cho'Gath walks mid and lands a Q on the Vel'Koz, he just has no chance, he's instantly dead.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and that goes back to what we're talking about pick selection, both in terms of in the champ select and also in terms of what you're going to do with those champions once you put them onto the Rift, and that feels like a big part of what needs to change for the side of the Nighthawks if they're to bounce back in this series. You've got to assume that they're going to come back in, maybe ban away a few of the champions that have just played so strongly against them. I'd be surprised if we see Vel'Koz again, or if we do, I'd hope they have a plan to deal with it slightly better than this time round.
Yeah, it's definitely a plan to deal with it is the thing here, because it seems like a lack of communication, because Cho'Gath can simply say, I have so much pressure, if you gank, she is 100% dead.
Yeah.
And there was no attempt even via walking top lanes. So it tells me that Caesar isn't calling for it. Caesar isn't attempting to get these plays made. And if you've got your laner never calling for a play, it's a lot harder as a jungler for you to see the opening. And there was an attempt to get bot lane ganks, because bot lane was like, we're being pressured, we need some help. Mid lane, I'm being pressured, I need some help. Top lane was just on an island the entire time, even though it was probably the most exploitable of all 3 lanes.
All right, well, we will be bringing you game 2 of the best of 3 series just as quickly as possible. If my memory serves me correctly, we do play on the sort of more fluid rotating sides here on the Rift, so the team that was just on the blue side will be going to the red side. I don't believe there's the option to pick, if I remember correctly, but we'll see as we get into picks and bans whether that's the case or not.
It definitely, I would talk about the fact that blue side is really strong right now in terms of what you can do with the first picks, because there are so many OP picks. But since you see like the Sylas completely gone from the meta, the Ryze taking a step back as well, it's a lot easier to ban out the OP picks, and then you start to look at the red side as a counter pick side getting more advantages. And we saw that game where the red side was just full of, right, how do we play around what they're looking to do? How do we draft the composition that does everything we need but still denies the enemy? And they were able to smartly pick up some picks, and even though the Kayle was a bit questionable, it worked perfectly in the grand scheme.
And it feels like it was sort of allowed to work perfectly, but at the same time, if there's so much pressure being put down in the bot lane where your team is just dominating so much so in the early game that your jungler feels the need to consistently be down there, well, that gives that breathing space for Kayle. So whether or not it was the Jogab not calling for the ganks or it was just purely Vi thinking she constantly had to be there to try and deal with the situation that had arisen because of the execution of play from the Caitlyn or Morgana.
That's the thing we do have to talk about a bit more, though. Yeah, we have to give so much praise to that bot lane. The Caitlyn Morgana was executed so well. 30 CS lead coming out of the laning phase. They did end up dying to that one gank where unfortunately we couldn't really see exactly what happened, but all the same we know that the Caitlyn tried to keep the Morgana alive and died using the heal to save her. So it ended up, the two of them do end up playing so effectively in lane, and I got to give credit to Zeyzor. He is so aggressive when he needs to be. I saw him the moment a binding landed, he's using the 90 caliber net in the opposite direction to gap close to make sure he can punish the Varus. Yeah, if you see the Pyke charging up a Q ready to throw it at him, so he walks exactly into auto range, hits the empowered auto, then uses the 90 caliber net back out perfectly in time as the spear's coming towards him. So it's just, he trusts in his own abilities. He trusts in exactly how far he can go, and the limit testing that we talk about a lot of players do in solo queue and in scrims seems to have worked for him, because this man knows his limits perfectly, and he's shown it on both Lucian and now the Caitlyn as well.
I was going to say, it's the second week in a row that we've had the opportunity to see just how effectively he's playing. So, full credit to Zeyzor and full credit to the rest of the team there, because it really was an absolutely solid performance from everybody involved with the Smugglers. Tell you what, made me proud to be a smuggler myself there.
Yeah, we've seen what they can do in a few games now. We've seen the ability they have in terms of what they are able to provide in terms of pressure for a bot lane. And you have to be thinking, you have to try and get something like a Sivir. You have to try and get some abilities to survive the laning phase, whether it's a Xayah or whatnot, just something to get them out of lane without them falling down that 30 CS, without them struggling to the level that they did this game, so that Vi is freed up to try and make plays elsewhere, so that Vi doesn't have to babysit that bot lane, so that we can see a bit more pressure coming out from them.
So this is one of the questions I want to ask you, because, you, as well as doing the fantastic job that you do here casting for us, you're a coach sort of world-renowned, in terms of the teams that you've worked with. What would you be saying to the Nighthawks in terms of this? Would you be changing the draft completely? Would you be looking to execute it more effectively?
I think there needs to be a level 1 plan coming into the game, and I think that's what they really lacked last game. When you look at a composition like that, and you see the enemy comp, you see the scaling picks, you see the places they have lane dominance, and you're playing a Vi, the discussion you need to be having in that before the loading screen, the moment champion select is done, is, okay, my pathing is I want to do red, Raptors, or like Krugs, then red, whatever it is. And you're talking about the first place you're ganking. You're talking timestamps. You're talking, don't push the waves so I can find a way into this. Try and get the wave stacking against you so that we can punish the Kayle. Even just stack the wave against her. So like if you're playing a Renekton Elise, you can dive the top lane and then we can punish them for that. You need to have that plan from level 1 perfectly set up to execute so that you can get the game going. Otherwise, you're buying into just the enemy team's scaling. And there was no plan at level 1. There was no early game plan. And that's where it led to them being punished.
Yeah, that's perfectly fair to see. Do you expect to see a big change in the draft? Will we see maybe the Kayle banned away to deny that late game potential? Or I think it's more likely
so. I think it's more focused on. Yeah, you can ban away the Vel'Koz because of the comfort that was shown, but I think you have to be focusing pick and ban a lot more towards bottom lane at the minute with the strength that Zeyzor and Addy showed, and then top lane is just a consequence of that. Is if bot lane is allowed to go even, one was allowed to go top lane more often.
All right. One of the things that we didn't get a chance to speak about last week, which I was kind of looking forward to actually, because I unfortunately had to leave you in the hands of my fantastic Dutch friend. He's annoyingly good looking and replaced me last week, and it meant that
I believe the phrase is turbo fitty. But yes. Go on, you were saying?
Yes, it is. But while you were you had the opportunity, I don't know whether you took it or not, to speak about the changes that came in 9.12, not just Mordekaiser, but you were saying it earlier, Sylas and Ryze, they've both fallen down in priority a little bit. How do you see them sort of fitting into the meta currently? For me, Sylas is sort of wrecked, essentially, and Ryze has a potential place. How do you see it?
I'm not quite in the same boat as LS, where he thinks picking Sylas is completely trolling. There's no point in ever picking Sylas. I think there is a situational place for Sylas, and there are matchups in which he can be dominant, ultimates in which he can steal that are just completely game-changing. But it needs to be in a low-pressure matchup. You look at him against if he's playing against Lissandra mid, Sejuani jungle. You're like, great, there's huge playmaking ability for a Silas right there. There's huge ability for him to have an impact come those later stages just by landing multiple ultimates in a row and changing a fight on its head because of that. So I think there's a place for him, but the Rise, however, is just something that's going to take a long time for people to come to terms with a new style that he plays. And the way that he clears the wave now is a little bit different. The way that he looks to combo is a bit different. So they need to probably buff his E or buff his Q to the point where he's got the wave cleared. It seems like his entire kit is now balanced around his Q damage with the fact that E auto bounces. You need the Q damage to be enough to clear the wave, or you're irrelevant as a champion.
Yeah, no, that does make perfect sense. And like I say, I don't like seeing it when it get locked in, but I do appreciate what we're saying in regards to the ultimates. How about for Rise? Because going away.
Referring to there.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought that was the silence you meant with the.
I moved on to Rise. Yeah, Rise just with the changes to the E. The fact that the E auto spreads, his entire balance changes are now around the Q. So if your Q,
that makes a lot more sense. Sorry, yes.
If your Q deals enough damage, then you clear the wave and you're a champion. If your Q doesn't deal enough damage, you can't clear the wave. You're not a champion. That's the issue with Rise right now. He needs to be entirely balanced around the damage on his Q. Yeah. And it's going to need a small buff to see him be relevant again.
That makes a lot more sense. Apologies for misunderstanding you there. Actually, we were when I was away last week, I did have an opportunity to see it being played on the live patch, and was surprised just how often it was being picked up by certain international teams. And there was one individual in particular who made it work. But it's exactly like you were describing there. When he got himself into an opportunity where he could free farm, he could get to a place where he could wave clear, he was okay, and he became relevant in the late game. But it never felt like the champ that won the game for his team. It felt like it was just a part of the red machine rather than maybe that explosive machine gun carry that it had been previously.
Rise is a lot more like Kayle now than he used to be. Rise was meant to be like Kayle in the first place, where if he's allowed to free scale early, he'll be relevant late. Now his early game is far more punishable. He really struggles during those early phases, but his late game is still as prevalent.
Alrighty, so there we go. That was a bit of catch up that I was hoping to do with you last week, so I'm glad that we got the opportunity this week. This week, of course, we've got looking forward to one particular champion that is dropping very, very shortly. I'm having to call her Qiyana, but you have a much better name for her.
Quinoa, yeah,
absolutely. That's 100% getting said on screen at some point accidentally.
I mean, like, I did actually say to fellow caster that they didn't actually know the name of the new champion yet, so I called her Quinoa, and then he just started going, "Oh, did you hear about this new champion, Quinoa?" I was just like, "Yes, this is it. This is what I wanted." And I heard it from a friend, and now it's just being passed on. So yeah,
I absolutely love it. What do you make of the kit coming out? Is it going to be strong? Has it got a good place in the meta?
She's what Camille was meant to be when Camille was designed as a champion. She was like she's a champion that has a lot of. Oh, she's what Kali was meant to be as well. A lot of mobility, a lot of a toolkit that she can utilize, and this is what you need in terms of champion design. I mean, this is the way you design champions. You give somebody a toolkit and you tell them, okay, be creative with it, find ways to execute. So the Qiyana is with the wall buff, with the brush and the river. That's what she wants to do. Be creative. And that's what you need to see from champions. When you think of a Kali, and she was a champion that was given all these tools, but there was only really one way to use them. There was a full combo that was incredibly easy to use. And it's just like, okay, she can also ult away if she needs. And there was Rise, there was a one key combo that he could use. But when you look at people like Silas and now Qiyana as well, where they have all these different ways to use their abilities, all these unique combinations they can pull, this is how League of Legends should be.
Yes, no, I completely agree. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing just how it falls, seeing whether or not they've managed to balance it correctly.
It's the same issue why older champions are terrible, because there's things like Amumu. How are you ever going to utilize this kit with any creativity? It's you turn on your W, you QER or QRE. It's just that simple. There's nothing else to it.
Alrighty, well, we are live in 2 picks and bans for game number 2. Let's see whether or not we get that Amumu. It feels somewhat unlikely based on your comments there, Sid. We are not going to be seeing Mordekaiser yet again because that one's banned away, as is the Evelynn, so you don't
simple
get to...
just means easy to execute.
You don't get to critique any Evelynn players in this game. It's going to be Soraka and Victor taken away from the Smugglers. The final ban, Kayn, is going to come in, and one more ban before we see our first lock-in. And who is it going to be? Will it be something we just saw? The answer, absolutely. No Zac for Akaadian.
Yeah, so the Kanye ban does speak to the fact that we're looking to play something more tanky, because that's he does really well into those sort of champions. You look at like the Sejuani, that's where the red form really shines.
All right, Vi is gonna get locked in, taken away from Onwa. We're gonna see Caitlyn and the Bard being the alternate. So we're seeing champions being stolen away from each other. This is gonna leave the Sivir available for the Bristol Smugglers. Still one of the strongest champions, and it could well be paired up with the Yuumi, one of the most oppressive lanes you can play into.
The Bard is an interesting one. The Sivir Yuumi being given over to a Caitlyn means that they're going to have the freest laning phase you've ever seen, but they should be completely fine. And here's an old matchup that I have not seen in a long time. Okay, Shaco versus Vi. This is something that's interesting because Vi is a champion that wants to go really aggressive onto somebody. Once she goes in, there's no way out. And Shaco, he's pretty slippery, so it's really difficult to ever be aggressive onto a Shaco. So it means the 1v1 matchup is really difficult if you are a Cadian. He's looking to sneak in, get an Ignite off, and win that 1v1 out. If he can do that, if he can take Cadian out of the game, that's where his team can capitalize.
Incredible. I always used to think of there being two champions that were just super frustrating for sort of the invisibility factor in the early game, and that was always the Shaco and the Evelynn as well. Evelynn taken away from one while we're going to see the Shaco come in place. Already the Ignite being hovered over. We're going to see Ornn in the top lane, and with Kayle banned away in the last rotation, I'm fascinated to see what that's going to be paired up against.
Yeah, so the Kayle having actually been banned is a surprising one for me. When they're looking to play Ornn, it does speak a lot more to the fact that they don't have a lot of faith in Caesar. It was shown in the last game in terms of the play from Wunwa. They don't have a lot of faith in him. They're just putting him on another scaling pick that just has to have an impact in the later stages of the game. And Super Duper, he's gone back to that Kennen, so he's just looking to outscale and come that level 11 mark before the Ornn is really hyper relevant. He's just going to run into a fight and one-shot people.
That last round of lock-in from the Bristol Smugglers was a team fight tactics round, getting both the Kennen and the Ahri, get them up to level 3 as quickly as you can and put down magic damage for days. And also on the Rift, they're going to be able to bring quite
they've actually got the wild buff. The wild buff's there from Ahri Yuumi.
Well, yeah, Yuumi, yeah. I suppose I haven't really factored Yuumi in too much because obviously it's a buff in the game rather than a champion.
Yeah, it's a direct buff, but like they've got the wild buff available to themselves because they've got two wild champions. But then you look at it like Vi, what would she be? I don't know, a brawler. Vi would be a brawler. There's no synergy for that.
Yeah. No, low synergy, but great teamwork in the last game. So, you know, I'm going to struggle to say anything bad about the Bristol Smugglers given the performance that we just saw in the last game. What I do know is that these two compositions are fascinating for the way they could potentially play out. I really want to see more aggression from Wunwa in the early game.
And this is interesting for me because Thane has a very different style of matchup here. He's playing the Ahri, which means he has the big peace out button that is going to be how he's looking to play that lane, where Shaco looks to dive in on him. He just presses R and then he's out. Syndra looks to go aggressive. He just presses R and he's out. But he needs to go likely for those Mercury treads to be able to survive the potential Syndra burst damage. From that point, he can actually look to go aggressively and find his own kill potential. Hence why you see the Ignite. And him plus Vi could potentially find a lot of kill pressure. But it's very much reliant on more sort of later game teamfight scaling. The Sivir Yuumi Kennen. And the Vi Ahri is an outlier from that wants to do make plays in the mid game before the Sivir Yuumi, before the Kennen really comes online. But if they're winning out versus Syndra Shaco, they're buying time for the rest of the map to scale.
Okay, and so that leaves us with the same question as last time round. Given all the scaling, given all the pick potential early on, which of these two teams do you favour? And does it get influenced massively by the sheer domination we saw from the Bristol Smugglers last time round?
So, I'm going to say something I said just the other day watching the LPL. It's the keys to victory are there, but they're buried deep in the Gouda, and it has to be this Shaco pulling out the cheese and finding a way to impact the early game, finding a way to be more impactful than he was last time around on the Vi pick. Whereas Acadian, he's going to be looking to show him how to actually play Vi in the early game if he's looking to pull out the confidence plays here. And I'm going to be interested to see how these two match up. But that's how Norfolk has to win the game. It has to be off of dominant early game that gives Shaco an advantage, shuts Acadian out, and then allows him to impact bot lane to get Caitlyn into towers. And same as we saw last game. The siege potential can be big once they get there, but they need to get the early advantages to set that up in the first place.
All right, teams have done everything they can to set themselves up for victory in Game 2. Norfolk Nighthawks needing to take this game to get themselves back to 1-1 in this best-of-3 series. If the Bristol Smugglers were to take this next game, they would take the series. They would go 2-0 in the standings here in Group B of the Long Arena Clash. It would leave the Norfolk Nighthawks a not-so-happy-looking 0-2.
Yeah, Norfolk, they're trying something here. They're at least trying something new, and the Shaco is definitely a piece of evidence for that. And I hope that it does work out for them. I hope they can at least, even if they don't win the game, find some strength in these picks. They can play more of a definitive style that kind of indicates what they're looking to do in the long term. Because last game, it pretty much just everything was thrown at them, and they were playing reactively the entire time. I want to see them throw things at the wall and see what sticks.
Alrighty. Sivir Yuumi, a bot lane that is almost sort of made for each other at the moment, with Sivir being sort of near the A to S tier.
What was the phrase that Frost gave it? Go Cat? Yeah. There was, the Frost piece on LEC where they talk about all the combos with Yuumi. Go Cat is the one with Sivir, and I believe the one with Rangar was Knife Cat Cat. And then the Pike one was just Knife Cat.
I have nothing I can say to that. Like, if I now say that, I'm just stealing other people's stuff. But it sounds so good.
Yeah.
Knife Cat Cat.
I mean, to be fair, calling Rift Herald Shelly is stealing from other people, but some things just become commonplace in terms of casting. It's like the old thing that Frost came up with called the Babush Cat, which is Rangar plus Ivern, where Ivern puts up a brush and then Rangar jumps out of it.
I think what we're getting
that actually happened in the LPL.
I think what we're getting from this is that essentially Frostgirl is just the MVP when it comes to,
Yeah, she's excellent at this. Let's be real. This is one of the things she's best at in terms of casting, finding funny names for things. And honestly, that's a big part of it, though, just finding fun ways of presenting information.
It certainly is. And the piece of information that I'm going to be able to provide for you right now is, unsurprisingly, Ignite and also Exhaust being picked up for the Yuumi, who, of course, benefits from being able to just hop on the back of the Sivir as freely as she likes. Let's see whether she's able to use that to good effect against the Bard Caitlyn lane. I honestly have no clue how that lane plays out.
This is different to usual, seeing the Yuumi Sivir here. But normally it's Sivir with TP, and then you see Heal Ignite or Heal Exhaust on the Yuumi. So opting not to go for the TP, opting to go for the heal so she has the combat summoner on her own, and perhaps Yuumi can look to help out another carry in those fights and not necessarily be attached to the Sivir permanently, especially when the fact that she doesn't have the heal to buff up Sivir or keep Sivir alive in those moments. And
do you think a little bit that comes down to the pressure testing you're talking about Zazor's having done, knowing exactly his limits on the Caitlyn? If you take that heal away, perhaps slightly would have had less confidence in himself?
Perhaps that's the case, and just like you feel so much more confident when you know your exact limits. There's definitely something to be said about that being being about comfort. Right. I mean, what was the tweet from Rick Fox? Rick Fox making a comment that he tried to switch from TP to heal for the first time when he was playing Lucian ADC in his journey out of Iron, and he kept pressing heal to try and TP back to lane.
That's an unfortunate decision to make. Actually, it happens at high level players. I saw I believe it was a Caitlyn that thought they'd taken heal but had taken teleport and actually just teleported in place in the lane when they thought they were healing. That
happens quite often.
That was a feels bad. That was at sort of diamond to challenger level players, so...
Yeah, it's happened in like LCS before. When players are forced to switch to TP in the AD carry role, it just throws some things out of whack, because they're so used to just being such a formulaic role that never changes. And that's why when you saw like the mage changes in bot lane, everybody started crying, because AD carry is a role that never, ever changes. And now they were being forced to try and play a completely different style.
Well, one thing has changed, and that is that Greasy Jon Snow is able to push in his lane opponent a little bit heavier, but look at the damage that he's already taking. That Caitlyn eating so much damage from those Yuumi Qs.
And Yumi's just free to stack up that damage as, tries to predict the flash, but just a little bit short on the Q.
The flash was used, but here comes the turnaround. Scatter the Weak is not going to get itself any kind of knockback or stun, and we're going to see Thane able to step himself to safety, even getting a little bit of extra gold out of the Shaco box.
Yeah, we get both summoners in trade for none, so feeling quite happy with that, you have to say.
I think that's a hashtag word.
definitely a worth play, but it was so close for Acadian. He predicted the flash would happen, but his Q was just slightly too short, just pixels different, and Shadow was 100% dead.
Meanwhile, all the early game pressure is being put down by the Vi. Judges the dash perfectly out of the Ornn, forcing the flash out of the man on the top lane with his Forge. He's having to step himself away, and now is that little bit less safe. Despite the fact he does have that ability, of course, to purchase without going back to base, it feels like soon he might have to go back to base if this pressure is continued from the Vi.
What does this tell you, though? Vi knows that the Shaco isn't going to be relevant unless he can snowball early. There's a whole reason he takes Ignite. So she's just hard ganking. She's pressuring all the lanes. So Shaco has nowhere to impact. And it's working so far. She's found good pressure mid. And she's doing a lot more than Wunwa was on the last game, showing what Vi should be doing in these early phases.
Certainly true. Yuumi dashes onto the back of the Sivir, throws down the Prancing Projectile, gets the flash and the heal out of Greasy Jon Snow.
And that really nice chunk onto Greasy Jon Snow. Double Summoners burned there as well. And this is a really dominant early game. Only 500 gold in the lead of Bristol Smugglers, but still just showing a lot of prowess in their ability to push in the lane opponents, get these advantages. And it's all just through CS.
Of course, in this game, we're not going to have to deal with the Kayle late game, and by we, I mean Norfolk. But at the same time, you still have got all the damage that's going to come through that crit from the Boomerang, from the Sivir. And if for the second game in a row, the Norfolk Nighthawks find themselves falling behind, I'm not sure they're going to have the resources to be able to deal with the opposition.
And there's the Critichets can become big in the late game. We know that there's been some slight nerfs, but it is just mostly to like just turning the mana generation from 8.01 to 8. So it's been very minor.
It's not the biggest hit in the world.
So Sivir's still super relevant in the late game fights, and you have to give her the respect.
Well, he's got to be very, very careful here. Clearing out the vision, but getting caught by Scatter of the Weak. Does have the flash available and probably will have to use it as well. But it's going to be too little, too late. This time, First Blood coming in for the Norfolk Nighthawks. Now they can immediately turn their attention towards the Dragon, and it's an Infernal Dragon. They've just taken the Bristol Smugglers jungler out of contention, and this one is going to be free and easy as the Norfolk Nighthawks secure themselves a big objective and a First Blood.
Yeah, Zazors and Addy, unfortunately, both out of mana, and the Ahri didn't really roam down to help, so that is going to be Acadian caught out of position, getting caught on a ward, just trying to clear it out, playing a little bit over-aggressive for it, and it loses them the Dragon.
So it really is quite unfortunate, and that is going to be a bit of a turnaround. We had seen a gold lead being developed for the Smugglers, again with this early game pressure, getting some good CS leads
cannon, boys.
Both the top lane and the ADC. Now the charm is going to land onto Shadow, but not eating that much damage just yet. Look how very low that Ornn is on both mana and health. Surely going to be forced back soon.
And the Klepto Kennon's stacking up this gold as well. He's going to become very relevant very soon, as you can see already. The gold that he's been able to put into his pocket, he's already picked up a couple of nice little bags of gold for himself, already got a 15 CS lead, and forced the Ornn to likely TP back to lane. Yeah, this is really nice for him, and super duper. We talked about what he needs to do. He needs to become relevant in team fights before Ornn does. And with the changes to Ornn's ultimate, you really got to wait until the late game before he can be that big tank.
Dashes forward, that's the Spirit Dash, that's the kill. It's going to be Acadian who comes in, stealing that one away from the Ahri, who did all the hard work, but Vi is the happy recipient, having picked up the Caulfield Warhammer already, getting a kill despite having given away the First Blood earlier in the series.
A really nice play from Thane, just playing aggressively, knowing when he needs to, playing around the cooldowns of Shadow so effectively as well, as knowing the flash is still down, knowing that the barrier was just used moments ago to stop a separate engage, has full pressure to be able to execute that, has the backup from Acadian, and leashes him perfectly into the waiting arms.
Here comes the Vi. Obviously, no flash available for Greasy Jon Snow. He's not going to be able to get himself away from the Vi dash, and this is going to be a free and easy kill being passed over to Zazors, as easy as you like. Already had the advantage, having got the BF sword over the pickaxe of the Caitlyn, and now has a further advantage with the kill and the 15 CS lead.
And this is what we're seeing time and time again from Acadian, just the chain ganks, going lane to lane to lane, and he punishes this time the summoners that were still down from the last time he went bot lane. And Greasy Jon Snow, and that's going to be an easy pickup. They've got a 1.5k gold lead, and they're still looking pretty comfortable in this game.
Yeah, this is absolutely the sort of vibe play that I like to see. It's an early game champion, and seeing it come in with the CC, especially when it gets up to level 6, as Acadian's just done with the Assault and Battery, really can have such an impact on the lanes, helping get the rest of the champions fed.
And now it's we're going to see how much this translates into tower shards, as they've already been able to pick one up mid lane but trying to get one bot lane, Zazors is risking himself again.
He uses the On the Hunt, gets himself to safety, holds on to both the flash and the heal.
Yeah, has to use the ultimate, but does get out comfortably, gets knowledge of where Wunwa is, but Wunwa does save a tower shard for now.
Meanwhile, Ornn decides to go in quite aggressively. He's able to tank up quite a lot. He's already picked himself up that Bammy Cinder here in the top lane. Now he's going to see the Kennen just dashing away, easily able to stay safe. And it is mostly the Kennen who's just stacking things up, looking to go towards that Blade of the Rune King early on.
I really want to see what the gold difference is right now between the Kennen and the Ornn. I think it's likely to actually be the Gunblade coming in the top lane, so he can transition into teamfights effectively. Is Greasy Jon Snow very low, using the ultimate to save him from Krusty, but
you know what?
They still lose the tower shard.
Such a dangerous game there. Flash forward from the Syndra, trying to get Scatter the Weak down. Instead, going to settle for the Unleashed Power, not being able to pick up a kill. Flash and the heal were both burned, but here comes the teleporting Super Duper. He's going to get himself already a lockdown. The stun going to come in, but the damage is really, really good coming out of the Caitlyn, managing to get a headshot, and now it's just nobody dying somehow, despite the fight. Here comes the Ahri. The next contender has arrived. The next contender's got a kill. The next contender has died to Bard. The next contender has given assist to the Sivir. That was the play we were waiting for. Yet again, it's that man Thane.
And Thane then gets the 2-for-1, gets them a tower shot off the back of it, gets them all this pressure in bot lane. And even though they lose a bit topside, even though Kennen loses likely a tower shot himself, the fact that he gets a big injection of gold, he gets the stopwatch, he gets closer to the Gunblade for the fact that he gets those 2 assists, means that it's entirely worthwhile for the team.
Oh, meanwhile, Arcadian playing a dangerous game. We saw him get ignited there in the mid lane a moment ago. He decided to try and go into his jungle to get a little bit more CS, but Wunwa was prepared.
Unfortunately, that's all really Wunwa and Krusty can be right now. Nuisances. That's all they can really be to Bristol until we start to see them pick up a couple kills. Then maybe we could look at Shaco finding these assassinations that he's more known for. Right now, that's just not happening. He can get a nice chunk off, he can put down an Ignite, but I think the Ignite does more damage in a combo than his entire spell rotation.
Well, we've just seen Headmaster Yuumi deciding to return to base, going to be able to pick up a couple of small items, already an Amplifying Tome. That's a really nice use to Scatter the Weak, but the damage coming back from Thane, he's going to have an orb drop right on top of his head, and it's going to be Wunwa who gets that kill. Finally, Shaco managing to get himself in amongst these kills, and it's just as another Infernal Dragon arrives.
Vi is around, but I don't really think she can contest this at the minute. There's no one else here. The Sivir's not going to be there in time. They should just give this one up.
And yet it looks like Norfolk are really worried about starting this one up. They have got 5 members around, but we have got the recall coming in from Syndra. She cancels that recall. There is a control ward in the pit, and also that scrying orb is going to be enough to get a bit of vision down. Flash is available for Arcane. He might be able to get himself out there, but he says, screw getting out, let's go in. Sivir picks up a kill onto the Bard. The Assault and Battery is not going to be enough to take down the Ornn, who instead kills the Vi. Now the dash forward from Xur is good, managing to get all of the extra damage from the Ornn, putting it straight onto the Sivir. It gets locked down by the Yuumi ultimate. Meanwhile, the Infernal Dragon is still alive and well, but not for much longer. This is going to be a second Infernal. That's going to be a 20% damage boost going over to Norfolk Nighthawk. That one is secure. But here comes the Yuumi on top of the Kennen. The whirl slicing Maelstroms gets himself a kill. Ahri is now here, and yet again it's that man Thane getting himself one, passing the double kill over to the Kennen, and only the Syndra survives to tell the tale of an Infernal Dragon secured by the Norfolk Nighthawks.
And I was about to say, they didn't need to contest that dragon, they just needed to give it up and play for the rest of the map. But what ends up happening, Super Duper and Thane show up, they prove me wrong, they get a massive gold injection for themselves yet again. And that's going to be another tower shard going down in the mid lane. They find a large amount of gold, but the double Infernal does allow the side of Norfolk to scale a lot better into the game than they were previously. You have to think about maybe they can buy into playing more towards the later game. They can buy into the Syndra just being able to one-shot a Sivir in those later game fights. Oh no! Oh no!
All of those free kills like that one you just seen have led to a 4,000 gold lead.
So he died, he respawned, he walked all the way down mid, literally autopathed, and then put no inputs in until he died.
That's a shame. You don't like to see that.
The moment he was in range, the charm just bops him right on the nose.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there. Well, I have. I don't know about you, Sin.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's literally the definition of running it down. You can see that he's trying, but it's. I mean, it's literally the definition of running it down. He right-clicks on the lane, walks there, and dies without doing a single thing. That they lose the first turret mid lane because of that. They lose the turret bot lane because of that. and the top lane tower is pressuring as well, so it's only a matter of time now before that single play gets punished exponentially.
The ace in the hole does manage to get the heal out of Zazors, but not before he uses On the Hunt to get himself to safety, having secured the second turret of the game. That is so much turret plating that's been secured. 11 of the 15 turret plates before the 14 minutes. The turret plates are just falling off, and already 2 towers down. The Bristol Smugglers, they just continue to get these leads up to a really, really solid point where it feels like Norfolk Nighthawks might not have a way back. Their only saving grace right now are those dragons and the kills that are spread perfectly evenly across their team.
6,000 gold lead they're on right now is definitely something they have to keep in mind if you are the side of Norfolk, because you can't really buy into these fights 5v5. You have to find those skirmishes where you're catching them in outnumbered situations, where you can find an assassination using that Syndra ult. Otherwise, you're just buying into your own demise.
You rightly predicted the Hextech Gunblade for the Kennen, who is now 3-0-2, harassing the Ornn like there's no tomorrow. The split build having to come in from that Forge, already seeing the Spectre's Cowl being picked up alongside the Bramble Vest. It's so many not the Bramble Vest, the Bambi Cinder. So many uncompleted full items there for Xayah. You've got to feel like he needs to get himself a bit sorted in terms of what he's building towards.
Well, he wants to be getting towards that sort of level, I believe it's 14 mark, where he gets the ult upgrade. Ooh!
Well, he's got company. He throws down the core of the Forge God. The ultimate is good, coming in from Super Duper, and now he's got backup in the form of Thane, dashing in, managing to get a kill onto one while taking down the clone for good measure as well.
Thane swoops in, picks up another kill, and saves the life of his top laner, and now they're going to get another one likely.
Unleashed power is not enough to get the kill for the Syndra, instead going down as Thane goes 4-2 and 4. That is about 20 kills that Thane has got across this 2-game series, and now once more we do see the continued harass as Kennen with the Yuumi on the back goes straight towards Ornn, who manages to stay alive but doesn't get his 100th CS just yet.
And you can see the frustration, though, there in the side of Shadow, where he just wants to pick up one kill off the back of the play. He sees his jungler goes down, wants to make it a 1-for-1, and instead he just digs himself even further into a hole off the back of it.
Meanwhile, Zazor's happily pushing all by himself, has got Yuumi for backup. That's not Yuumi, that's a Vi who goes in with Assault and Battery and dumps Jon Snow. He knew nothing about that. Unfortunately, Arcadian is going to get completely obliterated by one more who was waiting in the wings, but the boomerang blades are thrown out, and it's a trade of kills as Shaco and Sivir have mutually assured destruction.
See, he sees Caesar TPing in behind him, he knows he's going to die anyway, and then just flashes in to trade 1-for-1 off the back of it. Correct play from him. And Zazors, even though he blows his flash, they get the top lane tower. They've blown out all 3 outer towers wide open now, and they're snowballing this gold lead even further. You can look at this now as a 7 to 8k now, is that gold lead? 8k.
That is rather a lot after 16 minutes. We thought the last game was something of obliteration as the Smugglers came in dominant fashion after their week 1 win, but this is something else entirely.
A lot of it is on that Kennen, which is something notable here, because the Kennen has had the 304 scoreline. He had the Kleptomancy as well, which meant he got so much free gold while he was in lane. Now he's just being allowed to free split push and pick up more CS. As you can see, he's got a 30 CS lead for himself. That gold lead has to at least be around 2 to 3k.
Against the highest CS in the game, and now one more is caught out around the dragon. Norfolk Nighthawks trying to get themselves a 3rd dragon of the game. They may be able to turn her attention towards the Vi, but this time not going to get caught out and killed. But does look like she will have to seed this dragon over for the 3rd time this game. Charging up the dash, looking to go in, trying to get the steal, not going to be able to do it. Instead, going to give her life for the cause. That's going to be a dragon and a Vi kill going over 2-1-1. Now here comes Thane. He loves to show up just after these fights. He gets the kill onto the Caitlyn. He's going to get himself another one as he spirit dashes himself straight up to the Ornn. It's going to be Sivir who gets the kill. Meanwhile, Kennen's taken down the Bard off screen and just keeps on dashing his Yordle way. Super duper on an absolute tear in this game. 4-0-4.
The rest of his team might owe him a mop because Thane is the cleanup crew this game. He's showing up late to these fights, but he is always picking up the kills on the backside. He is always turning things in his team's favor, and they're going to get another tower off the back of this. This is a 3rd dragon that they lose, but it turns into something positive.
Yeah, it's not very often you see so many neutral objectives being handed over by the team that are winning in such a dominant fashion.
Off of over-aggression.
It really is, but the problem is that every single time that Norfolk Nighthawks punish that over-aggression, it's almost like they themselves hover around a little bit too long, and guess who's there? It's that man Thane.
Yeah, it's again, they can make the correct play. It's like, okay, Acadian's trolling, let's kill him for it. Oh wait, we stayed a little bit too long, now Thane kills us all. But it's just... If Acadian even just waits a couple seconds before he engages, they clean ace there. They've got so much of an easier turn because Thane is actually ready to collapse once he makes the play.
Here comes Yuumi throwing down the ultimate. That last chapter not quite going to get the root onto the Caitlyn, but that is going to
big slow.
And despite the trap, it is going to be the Assault and Battery just completely trapping down the Caitlyn, who is now 1, 7, and 4. Might not be running it down mid, but is running their way into trouble over and over again. Super Duper throws down the ultimate, slicing Maelstrom, easily picks up a kill. Now Ornn is here, trying to pick up the pieces. That's not an Ornn, that's a Bard. He's still got damage, he's got Ignite, he gets the shut down. Finally, we're going to see Super Duper dying. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Arcadian dodging himself away, trying to clear out the vision as much as he possibly can. Look how much pressure on the top side of the map the Bristol Smugglers have.
Yeah, but they are, again, you can see this aggression being punished where a big shutdown goes into the pocket of Krusty, making a play now on the top side, but they could get collapsed on.
Forge God does manage to get a knock-up onto a kill onto Arcadian, keeping the Ornn alive for a moment, but the Boomerang Blades are there. There's Thane in the back. He does this every single freaking time. Will you not learn your lesson, Nighthawk? Thane gets himself a kill onto the Bard as well, making it a double, easy as you like.
But they're trading so, like, how have they managed to get a 10k gold lead as we see Addy goes down, but how have they managed to get such a massive gold lead while still playing so aggressively, while still making all these mistakes and getting caught out, as it looks like Zazos is about to be again?
He absolutely is. He's running himself away, but this time OneWa has got the chase, uses the Chilling Smite, throws all that down. Uses the Ignite, taking down the Yuumi, however, and that's going to mean that Shaco immediately has to get himself out of dodge because, like you say, once again, here is Thane. He's trying to get himself yet another kill. One was going to come out of his invisibility. Will there be a trade? No, there will not. It's going to be Ahri getting to safety once again. The Baron has finally spawned in this game. Will we see ourselves another dance?
The issue is, and we see it around neutral objectives again, it's the fact that Bristol Smugglers have had individual members be caught out so often to the point where they're really struggling to contest these objectives. If we see that happen again, if we see Acadian add to these 5 deaths yet again, then that's just where Norfolk can potentially look to pick up a Baron, and they can potentially turn this whole game on its head if you see another one of these big mistakes.
Super Duper waiting in the wings, possibly going to try and steal his blue buff away. It's going to be too late to do that, but he might find himself a flank on the Ornn, who is so incredibly extended in this lane.
Yeah, this is a no vision, no pressure, just trying to make something happen, looking like he's going to get caught out for it.
Stun already lands, so is the charm. Here comes Sivir2, Super Duper, taking out his opposition top laner, going 6, 1, and 4. The Rabadon's death cap has been completed, the power spike has been hit, and I don't think anyone can stop Super Duper right now.
Yeah, he's not even gone for Zhonya's. He went for Death Cap first. This is really ballsy play from Super Duper, fully buying into the teamfight damage. And who needs Kennen damage when Vi can do that?
Nuts to that. Vi flashes forward, gets the knockup, gets the kill, and right now every single carrying member of the Bristol Smugglers has got themselves at least 3 kills. Key items being picked up around the board.
And now they can walk towards Baron. They know that OneWa is still looking to potentially make a play into the back of the pit. They know he's still alive, but they've just got so many members. They've got the healing from the Yuumi. They've got the ability to take this, and they've got Ahri sitting behind the... Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that is the Ahri you were talking about. It was sitting behind, and it's already got itself a pick up onto the Bard, who just about uses the portal to get to safety. Meanwhile, the Baron, despite the stop from the Tempered Fate, is going to be going down. It takes Acadian with it, however, and here comes OneWa. This could be a potential steal, but no! It's going to be the Yuumi! Dogs are made of barks and sticks, cats are made of twilight and tricks, and that is going to be a nice, easy secure. Unfortunately for OneWa, who looked like he wanted that one, looked like he was going to get it, but he's only good at taking dragons, not Barons.
As Acadian, he tanks the Baron for far too long. As you can see, Thane pick up another kill. They're still going aggressive.
9 to an 8 on that Ahri now. Zazor's completely caught out, does not have the Yuumi for company. Perhaps she will gain that shield, gain that healing from the Yuumis. Now we're going to see the charm landing onto the Ornn, trying to flash himself away, but getting caught on the wall, taking a lot of damage. The Prancing Projectile will be enough to send the Bard on his way straight into the waiting arms of Super Duper, and now the Inhibitor is under fire.
How did they keep getting away with it? It's another key mistake around the Baron where Acadian goes down, dying to the Baron damage. OneWa can't get the steal. They still walk out of it, and they pick up another 3 kills because they're just not getting punished by every single one of these. They're getting away with it, and the clutch moments are where Bristol Smugglers are showing up huge.
Acadian might finally be happy. Looks like he's about to get his first dragon of the game,
Okay.
and that's going to be Zazos getting his 7th kill of the game. That's the 8th death for Caitlyn. The traps were a saving grace, managing to stave off this siege for a while, but it's not going to do much good if no one's there to headshot on the back of them. We see Kennen pushing inhibitor turret in the top lane. Meanwhile, Sivir and Yuumi just making light work of the Intimidar in the mid lane. The push is going to come through. One where it's going to be the recipient of the scaffold weak stun. The unleashed power is there. That is going to be Shadow getting himself a kill. Meanwhile, here we are seeing the last chapter being the final chapter being thrown down. You know, we're not getting that item for the AP just yet. Zez gets himself
Oh my
a kill.
God.
Get another one. Look at that shield. Look at
Oh my
that.
god!
He is a godlike champion if no one's told you already. Triple kill for the Sivir. Ace in the hole gets thrown down. It's not enough to get the kill because there's the shield, there's the heal. Yuumi is you need. Inhibitor turret drops down. Now we can see the inhibitor going as well. Assault and battery is available for the kill. She looks to use it on towards Greasy Jon Snow. Doesn't happen because Thane goes in for Spirit Dash. Goes absolutely legendary. Pops the stopwatch for star points. Inhibitor's going to drop down and Thane gets to safety with Yumi's help.
Yuumi Zumi stopping health bars going booby as once again a clutch team fight goes the way of Zazors and Thane, where it's just limit testing again and again, finds the exact limit of what his champion can do. Instead of running away, he runs right back in and finds 3 kills.
All 5 members are here, and finally a kill picked up in the closing stages of this match between the Bristol Smugglers and the Norfolk Nighthawks. We're going to see Kennen getting a kill as well. The final Nexus turret will fall, and so will Ornn. So will the Nexus. This is game for the Bristol Smugglers. They take it in convincing fashion against the Norfolk Nighthawks 2-0.
And that is going to be the series going over in a bloody game where we had 35 kills in 25 minutes just for Bristol. This one is going to be picked up, and you can Thane and Zazors the entire series. We talked about the aggression they showed and what they were able to pull out with knowing the limits of their champions really well. Thane being on that cleanup crew to pretty much every fight, whenever the mistakes were made, whenever his team over-aggressed, he was pulling them right back into the game just as it seemed like it was starting to slip away from them. And I'm really impressed. But all the same, they've still got a lot of mistakes they have to group with. Things like London, you have to try and shore up those mistakes, make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah. And we're going to get the chance to see just how London are playing in a moment. They'll be playing their first game of this split, going up against the Teesside Steelers in our second game of the night. And that one, we'll be bringing all the action after this short break. Oh, no short break. Instead, we can review some of the action there. You were talking about how Thane was really good.
Yeah.
Did you have him the MVP of the series?
I think that Thane definitely deserves it. I think that the best player on the team right now is proving to be the AD carry. I think we're seeing a lot of strength from the AD carry role for them. But I think in this series in particular, Thane was just too big to ignore. You look at the RA performance, you look at the Vel'Koz performance, both of them were so huge, and I'm very impressed by the consistency in this series that he was able to make those plays happen. But Zazors in the bot lane, I definitely think this guy needs to be the central focus of the team going forward, because what he's showing in terms of even just his laning prowess is immense. He knows the exact limit of his champion in team fights, and I just want to see more of him. I want to watch more of him. We got to watch him last week. We got to watch him this week. Why can't we watch him next week as well?
Well, we can put a request in, but I think so. We've got to shine a spotlight on some of the other teams as well. And the 2 teams, as I said, that we'll be shining that spotlight on next will be the London Lionhearts taking on the Teesside Steelers. Tune back in very, very shortly to see that best of 3 series going down here at Belong Arena Clash after this short break.
to your side, a push on my foolish pride. I'm out of my mind. I'm down from the endless high. Don't know who's losing, who's bruising, who's choosing to stick it through. So we fight with fire. Still on a wire. We fight with fire. Burn with your light. You plead with the tears I cry. Don't know who's losing, who's bruising, who's choosing to stick it through. So we fight with fire. Still on a wire. We fight with fire.
Welcome back. It's about to be time for the second best of three in tonight's Belong Arena Clash League of Legends Championship. I'm Stanley Greyheart Barker, and this is Stuart Sin McLeod. We have just seen the Norfolk Nighthawks show that unfortunately their team fight tactics were not quite up to scratch, not being able to beat the Bristol Smugglers in a 2-0 win for the Smugglers team, who are now 2-0 in Group B. And the team that want to join them are the Teesside Steelers, currently 1-0. The team trying to deny them, the London Lionhearts, playing their first game of the split.
Yeah, London is one of the teams that we've been touting as one of the top teams in this group. Hasn't yet played, had a bye week last week in Teesside, having shown themselves to be a decent team already, starting the season at 1-0. This is looking to be a close matchup, especially if we look at the rosters. It's very similar levels in terms of ELO down the line.
Yeah, two teams that a lot of people expect to see a lot further down the line as we progress through this tournament. The London Lionhearts, they've got Regan, True Rambo, Lovesick, Godmid, and Precision.
Yeah, and of course, Teesside, having already started that 1-0, they've already got an advantage. They've already taken a win. I believe it was off of the Norfolk Nighthawks already. So they are comfortably looking to compete, at least for the top spots, compete with Bristol Smugglers. But London is the team that we're looking out for right now. Where are they going to slot in? What are they going to show? Because we've heard big things have happened in the offseason. We've heard there's been a lot of improvements. We need to see those in action. And this looks like a closely matched series, and I'm excited to see how we get into it.
It absolutely does. Pick and ban phase is
There's
up and
an Udia ban.
running.
Let's go.
I thought that might make you happy there, Sin, seeing that champion that's been buffed here in 9.13 taken away. Morgana, which we saw in game one of our first series tonight, is going to be banned away from the London Lionhearts. No chance for Regan or Godmid to pick that one up. Camille and Rek'Sai taken away from the jungle and top champion pool.
Yeah, so Camille and Rek'Sai being taken away is interesting here because Camille is a pick that's only really surfaced a lot more because Sejuani has been so prevalent. Minor nerfs to Sejuani have come, but they're not really going to affect the fact that Sejuani plus a melee champion is one of the most insane 2v2s in mid lane. In top lane does not matter. You put her with Aurelia, you put her with Yasuo, you even throw Sejuani top lane and put Xin Zhao in the jungle. It's still an insane combo.
All right, it's not the first time we've seen this recently, a Sivir being the first lock-in for the blue side. This has now been counterbalanced by an Aurelia pickup for the London Lionhearts.
So this should be Sejuani right here. If we're talking in terms of what synergizes best with the Aurelia, what's still on the table, it's just still one of the strongest 2v2s in the game. They have to go for it. On the other side, you may be looking at a Yuumi. You could even look at a Karma here, but the Trundle is a nice counter to the Sejuani.
The Karma indeed will be picked.
Easy Xayah pick, yeah.
So that's a nice lock-in for the bot lane duo for the Teesside Steelers as they look to continue their winning run here in the Belong Arena Clash Group B. Like I say, Xayah is going to be the lock-in. The Rakan still on the table as a potential support. We'll see whether or not Teesside Steelers deem that ban-worthy.
Yeah, if you're London now, you just ban away any sort of control mid laners. You ban away any sort of control mid laners away from One More Light. So you have the option of Godmid going for that. Yeah, just two of the safest mid laners you can go for, the Malzahar and the Vladimir. Denying them away, it means that the Aurelia is a lot more comfortable. You have to ban away the Yuumi as well. So Lux is the obvious option to be able to round this out as a bot lane that can still control, can still zone Sivir Karma off at a distance and get some kind of wave control.
There was questions as to if there was any potential for Karma to be appearing in the top lane along the Sivir, but those questions have they were opened up briefly there for a moment with the Nami lock-in, but the Na lock-in said that no, it certainly wouldn't be going the top lane, but it certainly looks most likely that Karma's going to be in the mid lane now.
Yeah, so Karma mid, this is going to be Syndra versus Karma, just a wave clear matchup, not really a kill potential matchup at any point because Karma's shield's so strong, Sivir's wave clear is so strong, Karma's wave clear is so strong. It's just a case of who gets to impact the jungle matchup first, who gets to impact the top lane matchup first, because Precision has to show up here on this Aurelia. The Sejuani has been locked in as a combo with the Aurelia. You need to prove that the first pick priority, the first rotation priority, all being on you is worth it. Them committing that many resources has to be worthwhile.
Both teams have at least a couple of champions that are right at the top of a lot of people's tier lists for champions right now. That Lux, one of the key supports. The Sivir still one of the main ADCs. Then we're going to see Karma, which is flexible amongst many lanes. And you yourself were talking about the importance of that Sejuani. So many good pieces falling into the puzzles for these two teams as they've drafted their competitions. Is there something you favour here?
I've got to say, overall, I do favour the London Lionhearts composition. I think they've got a much better 5v5. They've got a much better ability to force fights. But the lack of really disengage is covered quite nicely by the Xayah. The fact that you've got the ability for your AD character to stay safe. It's the main point of weakness, I think, for this comp has to be if Syndra is ganked fairly early. If Syndra gets hit by a Trundle Pillar, she has to flash. If you see the bot lane get hit by Trundle Pillars, they have to flash. So Trundle needs to have a proactive early game where he's trying to get the mid and bot lane ahead, because top lane, the Na's able to hold his own. He's got the safety to be able to just bounce on a minion and get his way out of there with the hop. You have to hope he can be on an island and survive, and you deny that 2v2 pressure. You deny that the potential of a Sejuani Aurelia snowballing on you.
And early jungle interaction was a key part of the opening series, with Arcadian picking up 2 champions and going into lanes, affecting them positively for his team. He took the Zac and the Vi. Will we see the same thing coming out now? It feels like, especially looking at the pickups with that Trundle, it's one of the champions that can go and just farm up its jungle, but with what it can achieve with the pillar, as you were saying there, it feels like we really want to see it being impactful early on.
It has to be impactful early on. This is the reason you lock it in. It's really being locked into 2 champions right now, Olaf and Sejuani. It steals Sejuani's tank stats and makes her a lot more vulnerable, and is really good at 1v1 into her early. And against Olaf, you just completely cut him off with a pillar, and he can't even use his Ragnarok to escape it. So Trundle has been rising up, and I can imagine Casinero has been practicing a lot of it.
Okay, the teams are on to the Rift, taking up defensive positions. 2 teams who are both deemed to be strong challengers for this season of Belong Arena Clash. And one of the teams who you must feel are watching this game intently will be the Bristol Smugglers themselves, lying at 2-0 in the Group B tables, looking at opposition they've still got to go up against.
Yeah, looking at potentially which one of these teams they have to be on the lookout for more. Both of these teams they still have to face off against. It's just a case of now, who is the one that needs to be feared the most? Who is the one that you're looking to compete with for that first place spot?
All right, nice slow and steady start as both teams are just feeling things out. Does look like we are going to see both the junglers starting on the top side of the Rift. This is becoming more and more popular, one of those Korean strategies where we see especially the side of the Lionhearts now going towards the red side so that Sejuani can get all that extra XP, make sure the Krugs and the Raptors reset as quickly as possible.
Also, I mean, it just gives the best leash possible to Lovesick in the top side and allows the bot lane to pressure. Because one of the things that's looked at quite often is you go, which side are they starting? This is because they want to play towards the red buff or the blue buff. This is because they want to play towards the red side of the jungle. One of the things that's actually quite notable about is it's who wants to get to lane first. The fact that you've got Nami and Xayah, if they get to the lane in time to contest the Sivir, they can actually get some pressure down. If they're not there first, they are pushed under their tower, and they struggle to have any kind of positioning in lane until level 3. So the jungler really has to take that into account with the early leashes. And sometimes you'll see some junglers, especially junglers like Nocturne, go for no leash just to be able to go, okay, both laners need to be able to get the best start possible against the lane matchups.
And with that being said, both of the teams are able to do exactly that, getting those duo lanes down to the
Prepping the
as
waves.
quickly as possible. And now we're just going to see how the laning phase plays out, because we are obviously in a situation now where we've got 2 teams who are considerably more balanced, perhaps, going into the match than the last teams that we saw. You know, unfortunately for the Nighthawks, they were just overpowered by the Smugglers. I don't expect to see that happening for either of these 2 teams in the early game.
And just to say, we are having some ping issues, so we are in a pause currently. We'll be getting back in as soon as possible, but all the same, we've barely started this one out, so there's not really much to take stock of, but we can take stock of the compositions once again. We talked about how the Trundle needs to get ahead early to be able to deny the Sejuani Aurelia, maybe just isolate that top lane entirely so the Aurelia can never really snowball ahead. But then you start looking, what is the aim later on into the game? They've got the Gnar, they've got the Trundle, they've got the Karma Sivir. They can run at an enemy. They can run an enemy down. If they find somebody out of position, they are going to be picked off very quickly, not from the fact that there's a lot of CC or a lot of pick potential, just because of the fact that there's no escape from this amount of movement speed.
Alrighty, do not adjust your sets. You're not looking at teamfight tactics. That is a Gnar on Summoner's Rift. Not a champion we've seen a huge amount of lately in the meta, but let's see whether Arc the Dragon has got himself prepared to face off against Precision's Aurelia.
And so he's doing decently thus far, which is the nature of just playing ranged into melee on the top side. When he's been able to get the wave pushing towards him, you just deny Aurelia so much pressure in the lane. You deny her a lot of CS. As you're seeing, you know, Liam and Liam and Drazar trying to do the same thing on the bottom side for T-side.
They certainly are small CS advantages being gained, but they are just the smallest of advantages as Sivir continues to keep things pushed up. They are probably going to hit level 3 first with the T-side Steelers, as we see a nice use there of the boomerang being thrown out to get that poke damage down onto True Rambo.
This Nami skin makes me uncomfortable, I gotta say. It looks like some kind of like mecha Lovecraftian sort of monster. It looks really uncomfortable to watch. I don't feel happy with this. Who designed this? Is this program Nami?
I believe it is, yes. Yeah. I can't say 100% for sure, but I'm pretty sure that you're right in that assumption. I'm not gonna get any love for this one, but I kind of like it. But I'm also the guy who's still upset that Patchwork and Mumu didn't get released. Meanwhile, Casanero comes in, throws the pillar down, and much as you promised, the flash is forced out of Syndra. Meanwhile, Casanero steps forward.
Why would you turn there?
Nice and easy. Meanwhile, one more light flashing himself away is going to get locked down by the Sejuanis. The junglers both managed to take down the opposition mid laners, but now it's a duel to the death. And here comes the Regan. He's going to be the Aftershock Lux who manages to save Lovesick for a little bit longer, able to take down Casanero. All seemed lost for Sejuani, but at the last second, reinforcements arrive, and it's 2 for 1 to the London Lionhearts.
Yeah, finds the smite, and even though God mid, he makes the mistake of going back in, costs him his life. The roam up from Regan, the roam up from the Lux, from the fact they're able to get that bot lane pushing back away from them, they've been able to now capitalize and get 2 kills onto the Sejuani, which can definitely help because her being a much more tanky threat means that Casanero doesn't have the same sort of potential to deny 2v2s that he had before. And we talked about how important it is to deny the 2v2, how important it is to deny access to the top side of the map.
With no disrespect meant to Lovesick, it's probably the last champion that they would have wanted the 2 early kills going on to, but let's see whether Sejuani can use all that additional gold to good effect, able to continue to impact the lanes as well as she just did there, getting the nice big lead.
Oh, another gank mid though, straight away.
Yeah, and this is exactly what you want to see. Casanero coming in this time, throwing the kill over to one more light, and already the kills are 2-2, and we're not even 5 minutes into the game.
But this is exactly what we said needed to happen, because they've isolated top lane, they've made it so that Sejuani has to be helping out mid lane consistently, has to be looking to even help out bot lane, because you look at the CS differential there. So, similar to what we saw in the Kayle game, the potential of ganking top lane is just kind of omitted because the jungler can never end up getting up there. And Casanero, as having ganked mid, is giving Karma the wave clear pressure to be able to walk up the river and try and impact that lane herself.
London Lionhearts find themselves under a little bit of pressure here in the early game, especially in the mid lane. This, of course, is the team that went to all 5 games in the Belong Arena Clash final against the Portsmouth Pirates last split. They went to Insomnia. They had this epic game that spanned almost 24 hours because of certain pause and issues that we had. And here we have the London Lionhearts back again, looking to do what they can to try and get themselves to a 2nd consecutive final. The only player name that I recognise here is Regan, the support. Obviously, we may have had some player name changes, so there could be players here who did play in that final. But Regan showing his qualities there, coming up to support the Sejuani earlier on. I just want to say how crucial that scat of the week was. No trouble. So what happened there, we saw a fantastic scat of the week coming through from Godmid, which stopped the binding, but it's going to have to land again. This time the scat of the week comes in and Sejuani is here for support. Lovesick is going to dash forward, managing to get that stun. Casanero is here for support, and once again the 2 versus 2 in the mid lane. Godmid taking a lot of damage, does not have the flash available, but Casanero is chased so very, very deep. It's too deep, and with the teleport coming through from Precision, it's going to be Godmid who picks up that kill. Meanwhile, True Rambo is just doing everything he can to stay alive in the bot lane.
It's out for the side of T side here, because T side they needed to show up here. They needed to show up against the side of London. They needed to prove that they can step up to these guys who were in the finals last year.
Alright, look at that root gonna land, and that's True Rambo picking himself up a kill, flashing himself to safety, as we do see Arc the Dragon coming down. He obviously had that teleport advantage, tried to put it to a good advantage to get himself a kill in the bottom lane, but not able to do it. That was a nicely timed boomerang, even though the boomerang was present as well from Liam, but it wasn't able to secure the kill. True Rambo keeping himself alive, holding on to, not managing to hold on to his summons, burning the flash, hasn't got the heal back up yet.
It was crucial for them to get that kill onto True Rambo in the bottom side, but the fact that they lose these tower shards on the scaling Sivir, who has gone for the cull, is really detrimental to them because she's now up almost double in CS, and we're seeing a big bot lane difference once again impact the rest of the map quite heavily.
All right, we have got ourselves a real barn burner of a game going on here. 4 kills to 2 after less than 8 minutes. There's a 300 gold lead in favour of the Lionhearts, who have the kill lead. They've managed to start putting some of the kills now onto their carries. We see Syndra going back, picking up some items already with that Dark Seal 2 stacked. Caulfield's Warhammer picked up by the Xayah.
Yeah, interesting that we see God Mid rush for the Sorcerer's Boots, rather than going for any of the mana, rather than going for any of the cooldown reduction to help out with the wave click, because you think that's what you'd prioritize against the Karma, but instead just going Boots to have some movement speed to try and escape Casinero after those 2 ganks that really punished him hard during the early phases.
I'm slightly surprised that we're not seeing any adaptions coming in from True Rambo in terms of the Xayah build. That Caulfield's Warhammer early, looking like he's going to be going towards the Essence Reaver despite the changes to that item. I don't know whether or not that's still the best option of choice for the Knifebird woman.
Yeah, trying to get to the Essence Reaver, both 80 carries are, but the Caulfield's Warhammer is just... Unfortunately, the fact that she can't afford the BF sword at this point in the game, whereas you see Liam having gone for the BF sword, having been able to get this much extra gold, and he's trying to get more.
Casimiro waiting in the wings. The pillar is enough to force the Featherstorm out. Really nice timing to get away from Drazar's bubble. But once more, it is the side of the London Lionhearts who are taking the worst of these trades.
Yeah, the Nami bubble causing trouble for True Rambo, but he finds his way out before his tower becomes rubble. And it's still an issue, though, because there's still 22 CS down. He has picked up that kill, but you know that kill gold is just going to be made up for the fact that G2 Liam went for that cull.
Oh, the bubble lands onto Regan. Liam is just throwing boomerang after boomerang onto the Lux. However, that is Aftershock. Lux managing to stay nice and healthy. True Rambo might not be so lucky. Does not have the Featherstorm. Gets run down by Casimiro. It's Drazar who picks it up with the tidal wave. Now Sejuani trying to ride Bristle to safety. Does have the flash available. Uses it. Gets straight to the blast cone. Gets straight to the safety of the waiting arms of Regan.
And they know that Regan's there, so they choose to back off, but they pick up the 1 kill yet again, and big impact from Castanero, and he just walks straight towards mid. God Mid tries to get a chunk on him, even uses the Ignite, but he's never even a threat from the movement speed he can just use to get out of dodge instantly.
There was a very, very bold, aggressive play coming out of God Mid. Perhaps thought he was a little bit too much of a god, but this time he does land the Scatter the Weak, has the Unleash power available. Karma, however, just as you said during Champ Select, able to shield pretty much everything up right now.
Yeah, Karma just shields for so much at this point in the game where you can't really do anything about it. And up in the top side, Aurelia going aggressive, but she might actually lose this one.
Getting chunked down by the Gnar, who's not close to a max rage stack, but does not need it whatsoever. Boomerang after boomerang is going to land, and Precision, who threw down the Vanguard's edge and still had flash available, is going to die.
So what we just witnessed was way too much faith in the Rune Conqueror. It's not quite as strong as it used to be, doesn't offer you that much healing in extended trades, and so he gets punished while trying to run away. And Arc the Dragon, he just easily turns around, lands a couple auto attacks, and doesn't lose his cool, so Precision loses his head.
So for anybody who didn't have the opportunity to watch the fantastic series that was the grand final of the Long Arena Crash Spring Split, this is the team who took Portsmouth Pirates all the way. They went 2-0 up in a really, really, really tight series. The reverse sweep was completed by the Pirates eventually. However, this London Lionheart squad, they've shown they can do it in the past, and now they need to come out fighting. They picked themselves up the Cloud Dragon, but immediately this one's turned over because Trundle gets himself a Herald for compensation.
T-side, if they can take the head of the runners-up, they're already proving themselves contenders. They can't really do much to show what their level against Portsmouth is just yet, but if they can choose, if they can prove that they can take down the team that took them to Game 5, they're already proving themselves to be a team to contend with.
So we're seeing 4 different names here in the London Lionheart squad. Players like Truladorn who are missing. Whether or not there are name changes and this is the same players, I'm not sure, and I'll definitely try and find out for next time that we see them. However, Portsmouth Pirates are absolutely, definitely going to be missing at least 4 of the players who not only won that last split, but 4 other titles before. Multiple members with multiple titles. Only the one remains now. So the Portsmouth Pirates themselves actually have a lot to prove this split.
And it opens up windows for new teams to show their faces in that roster that shows up in the gap and is able to find a win. It's able to find that first place spot through all of that. This is wide open, as we're saying, with all these changes. There's nothing secure in the league anymore. There's no 100% this team is going to win, as it seemed to be for a while when Portsmouth was doing so well. And now it means that you can see Teesside just have a bit more faith, have a bit more ambition.
And a big thank you to the wonderful Speedy folks in our production who have had it confirmed to me that it's not just name changes here for the London Lionhearts, but much like the Portsmouth Pirates, they only have one remaining member from the team that went to the final. So with all of these changes coming through, like you say, this is a wide open ball game for anybody to play their part in, possibly making their way to Insomnia, to the biggest stage of them all here in the Belong Arena Clash.
And that Rift Herald being dropped top lane gives another big swing of gold for Teesside. They've had the tempo advantage for so much of this game. As Precision's just trying to make something happen, 2v1.
He throws down the Vanguard's edge, is able to clear out the Rift Herald, but not until it's done that massive chunk of damage to the inner turret, having already secured the first turret beforehand.
But the fact that they are spending so many resources to try and get this tower on the top side does open up the bot side tower for the side of London.
Oh, the bot side might be open, but Precision might be in danger. He flashed himself away from Nar. Nar follows with a flash of his own. He needs to get a little bit closer. Can he land that final house? It's thrown straight on the back. Arc the Dragon looking for the reset. He's not quite able to get it just yet, but he's still chasing down Precision, who's using their health potions, trying to use the minions to safety, but it's not quite going to happen. Arc the Dragon getting himself that kill. Meanwhile, Sejuani arrives in the bot lane, immediately having to ride Bristle back to safety, however, because there are no minions there. And despite Syndra waiting in the wings, for now, Drazar and Liam are safe.
And Precision having to go running meant that tower fell on the top side, so it's currently 2 towers to 0, as London couldn't make anything happen on the bottom side. Only a 1.5k gold lead, but still this is a big advantage for Teesside and tempo. We're talking about what the composition can do with a lead, as Siva's nearing that call timing as well. There's likely to be a big lead coming soon for Teesside.
It certainly is. We're getting some big items being completed around the map. We've got the Zeal being picked up now by the Xayah to go alongside the Caulfield's Warhammer, so a bit of split building early on.
Look at how fast boy this boy Regan is here with the roaming potential that he's got with this with these Moby boots on top of the Cloud Dragon. It means that he just walks mid all the way up really quickly and is able to come in, land a Q, and get a flash from One More Light. This is a lot of pressure that you have on this support, but the fact that you've got Xayah in the bot lane into the Sivir means that you're giving so much up every time you do it. You have to find successful plays, and unfortunately, even though he's finding some nice bindings, he's not finding any more than that, and he needs to give his team a lead off of the back of these plays to be able to transition that tempo. Otherwise, we're going to see Teesside just extend their advantage.
You're completely right, because while Regan is showing some of those plays that made him a finalist in the last split, unfortunately, it's just not gaining enough advantages for the Lionhearts. They now find themselves 1,500 gold down, and every single time the Steelers find the Lionhearts pushing in one part of the map, they seem to be able to push 2 parts of the map themselves.
Exactly. It just seems to be spreading them too thin, and I'm loving what Arc the Dragon's been able to do so far on this Gnar pick. We were questioning it a little bit. This is something we don't see all too often, but he's been winning lane against the Aurelia. He's been unable to be focused because of Casinero's pressure in mid and bot lane. And he's managed to get 2 towers in that top side, so now they can put resources everywhere else, as these waves are just meaning that Precision's never allowed to be anywhere on the map.
And I like this from Liam, using that ultimate, making sure he gets all that movement speed, attack speed in, getting himself first turret as quickly as possible. Now we can see what the Steelers want to do. Will they opt into some form of Australia lanes? It feels like that's probably not needed quite so much, considering the turret destruction in the top lane, and that a second Cloud Dragon has just spawned.
Yeah, they need to be looking to try and set up the vision in the transitional points between the side lanes and the mid lane. You can see they've got a nice amount of vision to deny the enemy top side jungle, but they need to do the same with the bot river. They need to find ways to find people out of position, make picks, and when you can make picks, you can find the mid lane tower.
Much like in the second game of the last series that we were watching, it is the team who are falling slightly behind who are able to continue the neutral objective securing. They managed to get themselves a second Cloud Dragon, but Godmid takes a very, very dangerous path out. Gets caught out by the pillar, but the return is here.
Oh,
and
the
Lovesick
burst
is going to just immediately throw the Glacial Prison down, managing to catch straight onto the Trundle, and Casinero is no more.
Huge burst onto him, and that's the kind of play they needed to make to get back into this. Is currently had been Lovesick pretty much working only as a counter ganker thus far, picking up these kills on the backside of things, and it ends up being Casinero. He's the one getting counter ganked yet again, but all the same, it's a really nice play from Lovesick. It's a really nice aggressive move by the team who's just picked up Dragon, and now with these rotations they can make, double Cloud Dragon with the Sejuani, with the Lux, able to move lane to lane and find these picks. There's a lot of potential for Seta.
Ian throws down on the hunt, tries to get as much damage onto Regan as possible, forced to flash over the wall, as is the Syndra. Really nice to get both of those key summoners out of the T-side Steelers players.
Yeah, really nice
Sorry,
play
out the
because
Lionheart
they were just caught rotating between the river and back to the mid lane, so they get caught out. And some really nice stutter stepping by Liam means that they both have to flash. They have to give respect. And now Lionhearts are back on the defensive yet again.
Yes, they are indeed. The gold lead still resting round about that 2,000 mark. Neither team playing with the sort of confidence you would expect when that sort of lead starts to come in. Look how easily God Mid steps up, just completely obliterates Drazar before he's even able to get off his flash or his heal. Now the continued fight, teleport coming in from the Nub. This would be a 4 versus 4 because Aurelia deciding not to match the teleport just yet. Precision able to keep the push going in the bot lane, but now once more 4 members from the Steelers deciding to push in towards the mid turret. Can they get destruction?
And they're looking to make it 4 towers to 0 as Precision, and all he can do is hope he can try and trade 1-for-1 in the bot side, but it's too late. The tower's just only a sliver from going down, and Liam, once again, with some really nice aggressive play, is putting so much pressure onto the side of London.
And now being able to teleport straight down into the bottom lane as well on this Sivir, able to clear out everything that Aurelia had just pushed up.
It's using the summoners very liberally, though, you have to say. Flash in the mid lane was an aggressive play. Yeah, the ult already, and now the TP just to get down to stop Precision from trading 1-for-1 in towers. You're not allowed to go even on the play. You have to lose.
And that is exactly what happens. And while a summoner was burned by Liam, he's able to secure a lot of CS and now just continues his pushing ways in the bot lane.
And he's able to just force that one out and reset because they've got the waves pushing deep now. They've got all the outer towers down. They've broken the map wide open. Now is where you can push Vision even deeper into the enemy jungle so much easier. And in doing so, they're a lot less likely to get caught out by things like the Sejuani, like the Lux. And that means that it's that much easier to make plays yourself when you have the ability to track entirely where the enemy team is.
One thing that is positive for the Lionhearts is despite this deficit they have, despite the fact they have a 50 CS deficit for the Zyra against the Sivir, they have got a lot of standing gold still available to them. 4 turrets that can still be knocked down. Yes, they may have missed out on the turret plates, but if they're able to knock down some structures on the back of some 1 fights or some clever split pushing, they're going to find themselves even in gold in no time at all.
One thing I thought was interesting that I saw the other day is when you're playing a comp that wants to constantly fight, a team called Victory 5 in China decided that against FPX, a team that was undefeated in the league, when they were starting to win, they went 5 sweepers and everybody on the map started buying as many pink wards as possible. So they were able to completely deny all vision, they denied all playmaking from FPX, and they shut them out of the map entirely because they controlled vision. That's how important vision is. You don't need that much of your own, you just need to deny the enemies.
And a decent bit of vision there for the London Lionhearts as we saw a dash and an ultimate from Lovesick being enough to burn the flash from Casanero, who knew what happened the last time he got caught out by the Glacial Prison, deciding he didn't want to play that one again.
Yeah, it's a nice flash to get out of the way of it by Casanero, but still now, takes a big chunk off the back of that, but he's just going to be able to walk out scot-free for now. He's going to be able to reset. But what we're talking about here is the pressure that they need to have in the river. The reason that he had to flash was because they didn't have any vision, because they need to face check in the river. If they didn't need to face check that, he wouldn't have had to blow his flash. We wouldn't have seen Lovesick even able to go for the play. And because they've had all this pressure in the river, they're likely to get the dragon off the back of this as well.
The Steelers have been fairly happy to give the London Lionhearts 2 Cloud Dragons so far. I do not believe for a moment they will concede that Infernal Dragon so easily.
Yeah, definitely not as easily as the other two. And we're not seeing a team like in last game, the way Bristol was just throwing themselves at every dragon. They've been very passive. They've been willing to give it up.
Teleport comes in from one more light, and immediately we see On the Hunt popped by the Sivir, trying to catch out Regan, who dodges away from the slow, but not away from the pillar. No flash available for the Lux, and that's going to be a nice, easy pickup. The Steelers look to get themselves this Infernal Dragon. They've got themselves a 5 versus 4. Precision is pushing in the top lane, but there are wards to be teleported to if they want to. But the Lionhearts have decided discretion is the better part of valor, and they've backed themselves away from the dragon, settling merely for a turret in the top lane.
We said they were being passive around the previous dragons, but this one is not one to be passive around. Around this Inferno, they make the TP play, they use the Sivir ult, they use the Karma, they get the movement speed boost, and they run people down. This is exactly what they were saying that we were saying they would do right at the start of the game, and they just executed on it. This is what the comp will look to do continually.
It absolutely will. And there's so much speed there. Karma there can speed up. Nami doing the same. The On the Hunt as well. You've got the Frozen Wasteland that Castanero can put down for himself. And you add to that the potential slows that they can get down as well. And if the London Lionhearts ever get caught in that sort of pick environment, it's going to mean pretty much certain doom.
Yeah, it's not so much CC like I was saying. Last game was a lot more about CC. This is about movement speed delta, the difference between your movement speed and the enemy's movement speed. And if you can lower theirs and buff your own as much as this composition can, you can run down anyone.
That is absolutely true, and that will be one of the Steelers' win conditions going forward, consistently being able to make those picks. You see how readily they're willing to commit their summoner spells. This time it was a teleport from One More Light, the ultimate from G2 Liam, and that was all that was needed for a pick. And this time they really made it work, getting themselves that 10% extra damage from the Infernal.
It's definitely a big start, but now we're seeing them able to, off of the back of the play that forced the waves back, that forced the vision back, that they're able to get control of the river again. We can see how much vision they're able to deny, how hard that T-side will have to control this, because London, they have to face check to be able to get into this barren area.
All right, and that is all that the Steelers want. They just continuously want to be able to make these picks. They are setting themselves up a death bush.
They know they're there, though. They know exactly where they are. They've pinged it out.
Sivir's taking a little bit of damage, gets the nice use of the spell shield, able to deflect a little bit of the incoming damage from the Syndra. Meanwhile, however, there's just that one ward that keeps catching out the Steelers every time they step forward.
And there's a lack of sweeping, the fact that they've not used their sweepers efficiently, the fact that they've not been able to clear the wards. And is stalling out the game.
All right, we... Oh, there we go.
Gnar picked up a Frozen Mallet. That means he's a Glacial now, right?
Oh man, Teamfight Tactics, we will be with you tomorrow, but right now we have the important business of the T-Side Steelers versus the London Lionhearts to deal with. God mid flashed himself away, in comes the teleport from Precision, but it might be a little bit too late because Siv's already managed to pick up the kill onto the Sivir. Vanguard's edge thrown down, Castanero is so very no. In goes Gnar! Gnar again! And that's going to be Xayah sent to her grave. Now
poor Precision.
Precision, she dashes back, but it's not even close enough to stop Sivir getting a double kill. And now the Baron is 3 on the plate for the T-Side Steelers.
We were talking about in Champions like Precision needed to prove why he'd been given the Aurelia, why this champion had been given such a priority. In that fight, he missed every single skill shot, and it got turned on him. That is 3 for 0. That's for Karma, just zoning Sejuani out of the pit, and this should be a free Baron for the side of T-side.
Arc the Dragon is going to jump himself out of the pit, and as the Baron is being secured by 3 members of T-Side Steelers, the remaining 2 kill the jungler of the Lionheart, and that is going to be a Baron on all 5 members of the T-Side Steelers. They've accelerated their lead to 6,000 gold.
We said they were playing passive, but they have that go button ready at all times. They have the Karma RE is all they really need to be able to make these plays happen. And once again, that is what they utilize. And now these inner towers have to be the ones with the bullseye directly aimed at them. Because
what can the London Lionhearts really do right now to stem the bleeding?
Unfortunately, they can't really do much other than look to find ways to clear vision and punish the mistakes and the overextensions from T-side. Because when you've got this amount of members running at you, all you can really hope for is just one big Syndra scatter the weak to be able to stop them, to be able to slow them, just to slow the engage a little bit, to be able to split up the members so Trundle ends up running it alone, something along those lines. That's what you need. But it's so hard to execute when you've got this team just running at you, all 5 members.
Lux, Xayah, and also the Syndra is a decent amount of wave clear to have, but still the siege is well and truly in effect. Precision, who does not have teleport available, is continuing the push in the bot lane, and with him not having that key summoner spell, he's now having to decide to walk straight back up towards the mid lane, but it may be too late. On the Hunt already used, an inner turret is going to fall. Now it's the inhibitor turret that is under threat. That's going to be Castanero managing to throw the pillar down immediately. Godwin is deleted from the map, did not have the flash available. Xayah trying to pull the feathers back, trying to get the stun, but the inhibitor turret is going to go down. In goes Gnar is about to go mega. Will he be able to bounce onto any foes? Will we see yet another massive Gnar? The answer is not quite going to be as impressive as last time, but it just doesn't matter. Liam is on a killing spree, takes down one, but here comes Aurelia joining the fight. She and Zaya managed to take one hit, but Sivir gets a double kill and now is inside of the enemy base. Regan chasing down with the aftershock lost, but gets completely uplifted. Quadra kill for the Sivir. The inhibitor will fall, and that is surely going to be game. The T-side Steelers making it look so good against last year's finalists.
12 seconds for Godmid. That has to be the game, as in a huge fight, Liam once again shows up. And they prove that when the go button is pressed, everyone is willing to answer. And the T-side, they prove that they are contenders this season.
What an absolutely incredible performance from the Steelers. Remember, they are already 1-0 after their win against the Norfolk Nighthawks last week. The London Lionhearts, they had that gap week. This was their first chance to show what they're made of. And unfortunately for them, they fell at their first hurdle. But more fortunately for them, they can bounce straight back up because this, of course, is a best-of-3 series. But they're going to have to pick themselves up in a really big way if they want to bounce back from that loss.
You know, we can try and believe that they're warming up. They're just... They're going to take their time here. This is their first game so far this season. They're playing with this newish roster, so they do have some time to develop, but all the same, T-side, they had that extra week, and it's proving worthwhile right now when their synergy seemed on point. We saw when they layered all those abilities together, and we talk about it again, the movement speed delta, the way they're able to slow opponents and just run at them, stick to everyone on the map. Doesn't matter whether you use an ultimate from the Zaya. It doesn't matter whether you use the Scatter the Weak. There's still too many movement speed boosts that they end up catching up to you so quickly.
And it, I mean, in some ways was very, very lucky for the Lionhearts. They were able to get those 2 Cloud Dragons as quickly as they did, because otherwise the effects of the speed boost would have just been worse and worse and worse. But even with denying those 2 objectives, they weren't able to deny any more Infernal Dragons, Barons. They were all to be had once that go button, as you so rightly put it, was pressed.
And so now I'm actually very impressed with the way they executed that, because like we said, the aim was to isolate top lane, play the rest of the map, and get the bot lane into a position where they were comfortable. They struggled in a couple of moments. They had the Sejuani making some nice counter ganks, so we saw the Trundle go a little bit over aggressive. But in doing so, it was just a case of buying the space for Gnar to get into the game, denying precision access. So when those team fights came around, even though you got to say he missed pretty much every skill shot in those team fights, it's still a pretty rough situation for it was still a pretty rough situation for precision with how far down he already was.
And Gnar did
he
find
still
that one.
Wasn't even up 1 item.
Yes. Yeah, it's not great for precision. As you said so many times, taking that first pick of the Aurelia on the red side and not really able to put it to the sort of effect that I'm sure his team would have wanted him to, despite pairing it with the Sejuani that really was sort of a match made in heaven, did not quite work out. And that leads to the question, now that we see the team of the Lionhearts going over to the blue side of the Rift, are we going to see some changes? You know, they obviously have now priority getting their first pick of the remaining champions after the bans.
Yeah, they get to pick Sivir this time. It's great.
And do you think that's what we'll see?
I do think that Sivir's a first pickable champion. Karma's a first pickable champion. Even if you don't get the Sivir, just getting the Karma potentially in the bot lane denies Sivir quite a lot, because you're at least able to keep up in terms of wave clear. So I think that the bot lane is going to be able to go a lot more even on blue side. I think that if we look now on red side, we maybe even see we might see some more counter picks. But if they're going to pick things like Aurelia, then you can counter pick that pretty easily.
Well, the time for hypothesizing is done, because we are into pick and bans once more. Gangplank and Morgana drawing the first bans.
And that Gangplank being once again targeted away, with Udyr once again. Similar bans to last game, not much has changed. And so Arc the Dragon, he had a really strong performance on that Gnar, but it was because he had the entire draft phase, really, after the Aurelia was locked in, to think, what do I want to play into Aurelia? He was ready for it, he had the Gnar prepared, and he showed up with it.
The first real change is now coming through as Karma is denied from One More Light. Also being denied technically from Arc the Dragon and Drazar as well, because that is a champion with a huge amount of flex potential. Camille will be the ban from the T-side Steelers, who look at their ban phase and go, if it's not broken, why on earth would we fix it?
Yeah,
Sivir, as you so rightly predicted, first pickup from the Lionhearts this time.
So we could see Sejuani plus a melee, but then they'd be buying into the Trundle matchup completely. So instead, going to lock in Zaya Rakan just to get the full rotation down, deny the banning of Rakan, and it means they've got much more of an engaged, focused lane into the Sivir. And Wow, they go for the Thresh and the Jax. Okay.
Wow, this feels like a completely different draft being. I mean, I know that's obvious considering it's 3 different champs, but just the style that they're going for completely different in comparison to the first game.
So interesting that they choose to lock in a Jarvan. There is a bug at the minute where Jarvan does not knock up jungle camps, does not knock up the Scuttle Crab with his
Or
EQ,
minions. Yep.
and that the teams have been made aware of this. But he is still choosing to opt into the Jarvan. So his clear's going to be hurting, you have to say. He's going to be taking a lot more damage from his clear, but he still wants that engaged potential from long range. Unless this could be going to the top side.
That was exactly what I was going to say. You know, that's one way to avoid the clear being affected. However, the knockups don't work on the minions either, if I remember reading about that bug.
Yeah,
so
but that matters a lot less, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. So let's see where that one is going to wind up. I think we'll get to find out pretty quickly, but no, we are going to get that flex hover for a little while longer as we wait to see whether Arc the Dragon or Castanera will be picking up the Jarvan. Meanwhile, Malzahar is going to be one more Lights champion for this game.
And the Malzahar was a champion that was banned away from the side of One More Light last game. Champion he's obviously very adept at. He played the Karma way, he was pretty safe last game, but he's got even more lockdown for his team this time around.
All right, Elise is going to be picked up, so it looks like Jax is definitely going to be the top lane champion for Precision. It's similar in ways to the Ireda that he played last time in terms of its late game hyper carry potential. We'll see whether we see a bit more success for Precision in this game.
Well then, that's a Zed locked in.
That is a Zed. There we go.
And we're going to see the Gnar once more, so it's Gnar into Jax. Jax has potential to find kills in this matchup. Jax has the potential to set this up where he can get on top of the Gnar, abuse the fact that Gnar is very squishy early on, and punish him for it, especially with an Elise. But this is hyper-aggressive early game with a Sivir. If London is looking to play far more aggressive this time around and snowball early, they have to when they've got the Zed and the Elise on the table.
I do like the fact that you've got that Elise there for a little bit of AP damage coming in. Does mean that obviously there is a slight need still for magic resist coming through. I expect to see some Merc trades, especially considering the amount of CC coming out from the Thresh, from the Elise, and potentially from the Counter-Strike of Jax.
Yeah, Godman basically had to play wave clear duty on the Syndra last game. Now they've got the Sivir for themselves rather than the Xayah. He's not got so much wave clear to worry about. He's got a lot more mechanics to be worried about this time around. So he's going to be playing the Zed. He's going to be playing this hardcore assassin. And he can transition into more of a split pushing role later on. But in the early game, his job is just to kill Malzahar over and over.
And talking about that Malzahar, talking about the CC and the Merc treads that might be needed, we might see some QSSs being invested in. It's a real
tax.
Some people consider it a waste of gold, but if it keeps you alive a little bit longer against the Malzahar, then it's absolutely worth it.
It's like student debt at this point. It's inevitable, but because the Malzahar is so good at locking somebody down, and he will deliberately look at the item builds, see, okay, this guy respected me and built QSS, this guy respected me, this guy did, but this guy didn't. I guess we're just going to ult him every team
you die now.
Yeah, so it's just like, you get ulted every single team fight because you did not buy it.
The game is underway. We're back onto the Rift for what could be the final time tonight if we do see the London Lionhearts losing out in this game against the Steelers.
But I'm looking at this Elise early on in terms of what this Elise could be doing, and how this Elise is going to be trying to snowball through the early game. She's gone for the Electrocute. We see the Zed with the Electrocute as well. It's how much they're going to impact this mid and top lane.
Okay, nice slow and steady start, much like last time. I'm still looking to see some of those level 1 plays that can be so exciting, but nothing really doing just yet.
Yeah, nothing really here at level 1. Ooh, we get to see Galaxy Slayer Zed, the edgiest of Zed skins.
It is pretty
because
cool.
when he recalls, he is shirtless.
That I didn't realise that before, but now I'll definitely be looking out for it. Cheers, then.
It's kind of like Voy only ever plays shirtless champions, and he only just realised recently when he looked at his champion pool and saw Silas, Ryze, Kassadin, exactly.
I had the pleasure of meeting Voy at an Insomnia a couple of years back.
Oh, you played on stage with him, did you not?
Really, really pleasant individual. Yes, I did. Yeah, top guy. Meanwhile, Flay is going to land onto Drazar. These level 1 trades going in favour of the Lionhearts early on, and they'll look to continue that as they try to get themselves back into this series. Counter-Strike lands onto Gnar. Not a huge amount of damage being traded between there, but the mid lane, that is very, very different because one more light goes so low courtesy of Ignite. The flash was also burned from God mid. He loses a little bit of his kill potential, but he forces one more light into a very dangerous situation.
But the flash ignite means he does not have flash at level 6, and one more light just gets to flash R and murder him. So I'm going to be looking out for that one around that point. But it's the case of Godmid. He gets pressure now because of this. What can he do with this pressure? If he can find a kill off the back of this, if he can find the ability to get one more light low, stop him from having any impact, stop him from hitting level 6 early, then this has all been worthwhile. But he needs to prove that that wasn't just an over-aggression.
Amazing just how much those corrupting potions are able to really help out the Malzahar, get him almost back to full health despite the early trades that were a disadvantage. I like the way the London Lionhearts are starting things out though.
Yeah, it's a completely balanced item 100%. It's already roaming bot lane.
He certainly is. He goes in, he gets a lot of damage down, he throws the Ignite. The heal is going to be burned, but it's not going to be enough to keep Liam alive. First blood secured by the Ignite of the Thresh, and Drazar is going to drop as well. True Rambo getting a second in quick succession. The best roam we have seen this Belong Arena Clash split.
Well, that's what London needed. A couple quick kills early. That's already a 1k gold lead, 2 assists onto the Zed, and now he is set up to be able to get some kills mid lane, but more importantly, it's put True Rambo in a position of pure dominance.
It absolutely has. Godmid did sacrifice a little bit of his mid lane pushing power, but he will not care one iota.
And this is a little bit of a loss of the wave, like you say, but he's still going to be able to be ahead on CS after all of this because of all the pressure he had prior to that, off of the fact that he did use the Flash Ignite early.
A matchup I've not seen in competitive play for a very long time. This Jax against the Gnar. How should this one go as the game progresses?
We said a little bit earlier that the Gnar does have the ability to pressure out early because he is a ranged champion. But
so I was just going to say, Castanera there, just about trying to run down Lovesick, has still got the flash available if he wants to look for some kind of kill. He's going to get it just with the flag and drag saving his flash as well. Lovesick had flash available, so perhaps a little greedy and not burning that one, thinking that she got away because of the cocoon.
Yeah, the fact that we thought that maybe she could get away, but Lovesick, yeah, he loses out, and Castanero is proving you don't need that knock-up from the Jarvan, you just need the damage, and gets the kill onto the Spider.
So I apologise for interrupting your point there. I'd love to hear what you were going to say in regards to Gnar and Jax.
Yeah, Gnar has the ability to pressure out early because he is in a ranged matchup. He has the range advantage. But where precision will start to be able to show up is once he starts to get around level 9, you can see his Counter-Strike on a fairly low cooldown because of his item pickups. As once again, Castanero doesn't want to hear about that matchup. He just wants more kills.
Regan getting collapsed on by multiple members, but this is a 3 versus 3. Make that a 3 versus 2, however, because True Rambo and Lovesick are having to do everything they can against the remaining members of the T-Side Steelers. This is going to be a dive going in from Castanero as he tries to get everything he can, but he's just going to feed an easy kill over to the Sivir, who gets a double kill. That's now a 3-0-2 Sivir. What are you doing, Steelers?
And this is already a 1.5k gold lead from London, and this is really going to be an issue. But what we need to keep in mind is T-side. This isn't where their composition is strong. We're looking 5-10 minutes time. We're looking at the point of the game where they can start making roams together, that they're going to make things happen.
Okay, let's look if the Dragon can get this kill onto the Jax. We've been taken away from that one to turn our attention towards God mid. He's not quite hit level 6, so he's not death marking onto one more light just yet. The trade is fairly even, but you've got to assume that the second Zed hits level 6 is going to be going straight back in. Meanwhile, the Gnar against the wall is enough to put Precision in a lot of trouble. He's issued the Grandmaster's Might, but it's not enough to stop Art the Dragon getting himself a kill. And yet again, it is going to be the T-Side Steelers top laner making the better of these trades.
We're seeing once again the pressure that Godmid has had, though. The fact that he's able to force one more light to use his flash because he gets level 6 first justifies all the plays he made earlier on, justifies everything that's happened thus far, because now the flash ult isn't a threat. The ultimate is arriving late for one more light, and the fact that he can't make plays yet, he's still having to wait, it's looking to be a bit of an issue for him. He needs to be able to clean this up.
Jarvan is continuing his roam around his blue side jungle, perhaps looking to get himself up to level 6 as quickly as possible, make the most of that Cataclysm. Certainly doesn't seem to have been hurt too hard by the small bug that is known with the Jarvan at the moment. However, you know, every little helps, and maybe that'll be something that London Lionhearts will get as a bit of an edge later on.
It's pretty much just a first clear issue, if we're honest here, because the knock-up is only really used so you take minimal damage from clearing camps. If you can still knock up champions, then there's no issue.
I wonder if there was any decision to perhaps opt for the Demacian Standard and also the W Shield as well, rather than maybe even going into the queue.
Well, if you're going tank Jarvan, you tend to max W. If you're going aggressive Jarvan, you max Q. So the E isn't really to be considered that highly anyway. It's all about the damage focus or the tankiness, and there's no real in between for Jarvan.
All right, meanwhile, we do see Godmid trying to clear out some vision here. He's got to be very, very careful. One More Light does have the Never Grasp available to him. Could turn straight onto this Zed if he goes too deep. But it is actually going to be One More Light who's completely caught out. Godmid throws down the death mark and waits for the most satisfying ultimate pop in the game of League of Legends. It is indeed going to be the death mark securing the first kill of the game for the Zed. Meanwhile, the hook is going to land onto the Zai, who's caught out without the Rakan there for safety. There's going to be a nice use of the Lantern, pulling True Rambo in closer, trying to get as many boomerangs in as he possibly can, but the last bounce is not going to be there. Meanwhile, Godmid, he's entered the fray, but he might be about to drop straight back out of it. He doesn't manage to get the kill with the Ignite, instead himself getting ignited. Drazar getting the kill, and Godmid just went a step too far. Here comes our next contender. It's the Elise. This one does manage to take Leon down. Drazar still surviving, gets a hook to the face. Double kill for the Elise.
And they pull off the dive at what's being done elsewhere. Jarvan's looking top lane.
He certainly is. Precision is looking like he's in an awful lot of danger. He's completely caught out, doing his best to get as much CS as he can, fending off Casemiro and Arc the Dragon for now.
Yeah, they have to rush the play because, unfortunately, they don't have the cannon wave available. They're trying to prioritize on the timing they've been given. And it means that they can't get a dive off because they just don't have a wave available. Now that the cannon wave is here, they have the ability to at least force him off the tower, get a couple shards, and try and get a gold lead back that way, at least in one of their lanes.
Yeah, up the Dragon there, losing Mega Gnar form, but able to just get nice, easy clear, throwing down the boomerangs as well. Meanwhile, Casemiro showed himself in the top lane for so long. The London Lionhearts able to secure that Ocean Dragon on the back of the dive in bot lane.
Yeah, but I mean, Stan, it's the Ocean Dragon. Who really cares? Let's talk about the CS lead in the top side.
Mob, that's who.
33 CS in the top side. Ocean Dragon's mom's not here. Okay?
You don't know that. You haven't checked Twitch chat.
And someone's going to rename themselves to Ocean Dragon's mom and be like, stop making fun of my son. I'm gonna call the Twitch police on you. Let me speak to your manager.
What's worse, Ocean Dragon or Cloud Dragon?
Ocean Dragon's worse. Cloud Dragon is really... I've been hyping this up for a while. Cloud Dragon is so good for rotational plays because having one Cloud Dragon, if you're rotating between mid and top side, gives you a 2-second advantage over the enemy team. If you're in the lead, Cloud Dragon gives you 2 seconds of time to DPS down a tower that otherwise you wouldn't have.
Well, you heard it here first. Ocean Dragon, officially irrelevant. Sorry, Ocean Dragon's mum.
I mean, Ocean Dragon is fine early, but the only time you really get to use Ocean Dragon is if you're playing a hard disengage comp. But One More Light, he can't disengage that.
Yeah, that was a lovely max length hook coming in from Regan, leading it to the immediate death mark from Godmid, even threw his Ignite down for good measure. Perhaps slight overkill.
Yeah, a little bit overkill, but he just wanted to secure that for himself as now Godmid being chunked out by Casemiro. He didn't even use his ult. There it is.
Cataclysm is a nice...
That's a 3-in-1 Jarvan.
Nice, easy kill there. And as you say, that is a 3-in-1 Jarvan with a Warrior enchant who is getting stronger by the second.
And he's building those Ninja Tabi as well, so he's not going to stop being able to deal with his Zed. Zed just can't do anything about him right now in a 1v1 if he doesn't have his ultimate available.
Nice to see the Duskblade being completed for the Zed. More spicy plays to be made by Godmid, the mid laner for the London Lionhearts. And he's going to have to continue making those roams, continue making those plays if Lionhearts want to find their way back into this series.
T-side, that was set behind early. We're looking for these mid-game plays centered around the Malzahar, but the Malzahar hasn't really found any relevance yet. It's all been about these Thresh hooks and what they can do.
Yeah, Regan was a real star performer in the spring final of the championship, and right now he is showing why. This Thresh really coming through in a big way. Meanwhile, Godmid immediately managing to get away that spell shield that One More Light has as his passive. That Banshee's Veil not available to him anymore. Meanwhile, we do see the stopwatch has been picked up, so there is the opportunity to get himself out of danger if Deathmark comes calling once more.
I didn't know you could use Greek symbols in names, to be honest. I love the Omega. symbol being used. Omega Lol will be what it becomes by the end of the game, I'm pretty sure. Zed does fall off pretty hard unless you're able to snowball massively, and we're starting to see a bit of armor being built up on everyone on the side of T-side. It means it's really hard for him to find an impact unless he's jumping onto G2 Liam, and even then, he's going to have the ultimate to keep himself safe. So there's not really many targets for the Zed unless we're seeing Malzahar just be able to be pressured out at all points of the game. And, they're not stopping.
One more light using that stopwatch we were talking about, flashing himself away from the exploding spider, actually able to get to safety. That was 600 gold well spent.
Definitely so, as it's 600 gold for him, but it still builds into that Zhonya's that he so desperately needs and still building towards. And unfortunately, though, he hasn't got any mana, so he hasn't really been able to do so well in this matchup.
Precision picking himself a fight with Art the Dragon, who goes into Mega Gnar form, but with the Elise arriving in the top lane, it is going to be Art the Dragon having to get himself to safety, not even having to burn the flash, however. And London Lionhearts, who found themselves a 2,500 gold lead earlier, are letting it slide somewhat.
Yeah, and Arc the Dragon, he doesn't let that play make him burn his TP. He's able to stay on the top side. He didn't even burn his flash, but he is going to have to give up a shard for his troubles. He's still got the 4 for himself, however, so he's managed to build up a massive lead. He's not too scared of the Jax.
1 more minute left on those shards as Casemiro gets pulled out of his flag strike by a beautiful flag. He dodges away from the hook. The Ignite is down. Here comes Rakan, unable to save the jungler, looking to try and dash onto True Rambo instead. He's going to have to try and get himself to safety now, however, and it's Rakan and Zio completely caught out. Zed manages to get one of the kills. Thresh gets the other. The teleport will not be cancelable as Art the Dragon arrives into the fight.
And meanwhile, Elise, one of the few champions that can, is 1v1ing the Rift Herald. And there was a while where the Rift Herald did way more damage, and Elise was renowned for being the only person who could do this. But she's just happy to do that while the rest of the team runs them down for kills.
But unfortunately, it feels like Art the Dragon is actually being chased towards the Elise at the moment. I'm not sure that's entirely what Elise wanted.
It's already
he
gone.
does manage to secure the Herald before the Yordle, the Magio man comes along. Meanwhile, however, look at the state of play. We were just talking about how the gold lead was falling away for the Lionhearts. They've re-established it at 2,500 gold, and once more the death sentence connects, leading to the death mark. Nevergrasp is going to be used, trying to get a return kill, but it's just not enough. Godmid now on a killing spree at 5, 2, and 5.
Yeah, and Godmid, he's still so relevant, but it doesn't matter. He gets shut down anyway. Boom! Jarvan once again, putting him in his place. You got to take these Zed mains and show them that they got to play a real champion. Play a tank like the Jarvan, where you can build full AD on him instead.
Okay, just a bit of a breather now, an opportunity to see what is going on around the map. There's another dragon spawning, and it is your favorite Cloud Dragon.
Oh baby, this is the Cloud Dragon. If T-Side pick this up, then they're in good stead, because currently the roaming plays from London are so big as Drezar's going to get caught out, but he just barely escapes.
He does indeed, and the damage now being turned back around. G2 Liam with a full health bar, throwing down the Featherstorm, going for the flash, pulling back those feathers, getting the kill onto Regan. Now here comes the Jarvan. Doesn't have the Cataclysm available, doesn't freaking need it. We are going to see True Rambo managing to get onto a rampage, however, 4-0-7, picking up the kill on Nazaya, who had been somewhat over-aggressive, but did do decent work. Meanwhile, Drezar, look how very low he was, almost being reunited with his lover's bot lane, with a grey screen. And
so Casinero does make another play towards the bot side. He has been dominant in terms of his roams from the jungle this game, but goes down to the bot side. I love what happens on the play. He EQs in. Regan tries to flay him away, and the flay only takes place after Regan's died, so in another world line somehow Casinero was knocked back, and it affected this one, because he gets knocked back by a dead Thresh.
Meanwhile, Art the Dragon and Precision having the latest in their long line of duels, and once again, Precision losing that war.
Yeah, Precision, just once again, top lane has been isolated, so he's gone massively down in CS against this Gnar. He's not been really given any credit by Lovesick, nothing really going his way. And so he's lost his tower, he lost 4 of the tower shards, and he's still miles away from that all-important Triforce.
Okay, now the dragon is being started up. Cloud Drake trying to be secured by the side of the T-side Steelers. Of course, they missed out on that first Ocean Dragon, and now it looks like the fight is brewing. One more light completely caught out, throws down the Nevergrass, but it's just not enough. Regan getting a kill. Meanwhile, the dragon is secured and is going to be going over to the T-side Steelers, who've also got themselves a kill onto this side. They're now looking to chase down as many people as possible. The is good. The Flay is going to push Castanero back, but not for long. Castanero lives. Everybody else dies. 1 for Gnar, one for J4. Will we be able to see any more kills? The stun is going to land the big Gnar into the wall, and that's going to be Lovesick dropping down for sure. Arc the Dragon gets himself a double kill on the back of a beautiful Gnar flank.
Some really nice play by Arc the Dragon throughout, and they're going to be able to get this mid lane tower off the back of it, making it 2 towers to 1. And these are the turnarounds we said T-side needed. It was going to be off of the mid-game plays. We said it was going to be the Malzahar that needed to be the center of it, but instead, it's the Jarvan, it's the Gnar. They have been so effective in this, and they've been able to get 3 towers now off the back of this.
Meanwhile, we are going to see a turret being secured in the top lane. Precision finally able to do his split pushing duty on the Jax.
Yeah, he's able to get a tower for himself in response to losing the 2 mid lane ones. So now the outer tower in the bot lane has to be the next target for the side of T-side. And you know what? I know I'm making fun of him a bit, but there's just something so cathartic about watching a Zed be 1v1'd by a jungler.
It certainly is the case. Meanwhile, the Herald has been summoned a long time after the plates have fallen off, but it's a chance for London Lionhearts to try and get themselves some more standing gold. They've lost that significant gold lead they had, and now the Lantern is used, and we don't even see, or we just about see a single charge coming in from the Herald, not able to achieve very much at all.
And so now, yeah, the Herald charge pops, but nothing off the back of it. Zed's just going to try and split push this bot side. As we said, Zed needed to transition into becoming a split pusher. Traditionally, that was off the back of buying a Bork, but he doesn't really have the option here. He just has to snowball to be able to kill people with this lethality.
Certainly does. Will he be able to get himself any more lethality? Already got that Yumus, already got himself the Dustblade of Drakthar, but it is the T-side Steelers who are pushing things forward. The London Lionhearts definitely falling onto the back foot.
And slowly, One More Light, who has been pinned down this entire game, is slowly but surely getting back into it. You can see he's going to have the Zhonyas. And that's all you really need, because Zed tries to jump on you, you pop Zhonyas, the rest of your team kills him. You have your own available.
Is going to be popped. Regan is going to be the first one who's getting caught out. However,
That's what his
he
ult
tries
does.
to get himself out of the fight. One More Light able to get the kill on Precision. Meanwhile, Jax gets a double kill. Precision joins the fight, eventually goes out of it as well. Look how very low Regan and Godmid are. This could be the re-engage coming in. One More Light is going to pass
Godmid's
that
so low.
Void Links onto Godmid, and that is going to be the
Ultra!
death. Oh my god. Zed just got destroyed by Thresh putting on those Voidlings onto him, and now it's a quadra kill for One More Light. The man who has got the name of a song that can almost make me cry has made the London Lionhearts weep, because they are now in danger of losing this series.
One More Light finds the light in the darkness, goes from 0-4 to 4-4 off the back of that play, and we said just moments ago that Malzahar was slowly going to become relevant in the game because he has that CC, he has the ultimate available for himself, he uses it to pick up Lovesick in the back of that fight, and he, on cleanup duty, is able to even up the gold almost entirely between him and Zed.
Well, that is just terrible, terrible news for the London Lionhearts, who looked like they had found themselves a real good foothold in this game.
Look at that though, think about it this way. He went from having a 0-stack Zarkseal to having a 9-stack Zarkseal. That's what happened there. Like, he went from, oh, I'm sorry guys, I'm trolling, to, should I buy Mage Eyes this game?
Meanwhile, nothing has changed for Zed. He's still looking to get those big damage items, looking to get himself yet more penetration potentially. There are no QSSs to be seen on the side of the London Lionhearts at this stage.
And they weren't afraid of One More Light until now, and now they're realizing, wait, that 1,300 gold we needed to invest in a QSS to deal with the playmaking of a Malzahar, yet none of us did it because we thought he wasn't a threat. He's a threat now. What do we do? Now they realize they sit probably down about 4,000 extra gold they need to spend. And so now up the dragon.
Oh, there we go. Baron is now being started up. The vision being cleared out by the T-side Steelers. There was a nice use of the sweep there by London Lionhearts as they managed to make sure that the Steelers aren't going to sneak this one away from them. But look at the push going on in bot lane.
But as an engage in mid lane is the key here.
This is going to be so very close. Drazar having to flash himself to safety. Regan getting the kill courtesy of the Ignite. The Cataclysm was put down onto the Thresh. That's going to be a 1-for-1 with both supports dying. Zed manages to take out the Knife Bird Woman, and now J4 takes down the Sivir. Both ADCs dead. Who has the remaining damage? At least manages to take out Jarvan. The Precision is going to fall down as One More Light continues his unstoppable killing spree. Only Lovesick and Godmid remain, and Lovesick is running for the hills.
Arc the Dragon still unkilled in this game, still so strong, near untouchable, and he's going to be on the cleanup duty here because Godmid, he plays that fight really well, finds a couple kills, finds a lot of pressure, but on the backside of it, the cleanup is there when they've just used all their burst damage, because that's all they've got, burst damage. It's just, there's no real way to keep the fight going once those key damage dealers just run out of cooldowns.
Ocean Dragon's mum, get the camera! I'm back on the Rift again!
Great. Thanks.
I love how happy it makes you to see Ocean Dragon.
Ocean Dragon's the kind of guy who lives in his parents' basement still at age 34. Just like, I'm still relevant, guys.
Oh, dear me. Ocean Dragon is going to be a dead. T-side Steelers adding to their Cloud Dragon from before. Pings are now going down towards the Baron. London Lionhearts doing their very best to gain some vision around the area. They're now 3,000 gold behind. Their kill score, however, is dead level, and both these teams must feel like the game is balanced on a knife edge.
Yeah, so they take Ocean Dragon just to make a better dragon spawn soon enough. But they've just being engaged on here because they've lost pressure in the topside river. They've lost the vision in the topside river. So they have to find a way to push the mid wave in, get control of this again to deny the engaged pressure, because we know how big the burst damage is if you're not expecting it.
Passive Banshee's Veil was briefly popped for the Malzahar, however that one's just straight back up again. The Zhonya's is about to refresh. Will we see any more big engages coming out of God mid? So far it's been all about watching the supports. Regan and Drazar between them have had so many entrances,
there he goes.
and this time it's Regan who's completely caught out. Of course he doesn't have a QSS, so that's going to be GG Liam picking up the kill in the back of the Nevergrasp, and now in a 5 versus 4 situation with a big part of the vision game gone for the London Lionhearts. Can we see the Baron being picked up by the Steelers?
I mean, there's going to be another team fight. Let's be real. There's been 40 kills in 23 minutes. There's going to be another team fight here, and whoever wins it is likely to get Baron.
Baron, or perhaps even just the game. There is, of course, an inhibitor turret just there for the taking. If the side of the Steelers can find this fight, they are going straight in, and we are going to see the dash not quite managing to connect. Casemiro not being able to land anything with the Cataclysm, and Precision gets himself to safety.
But they get back control of mid. They stop them from attacking this mid lane tower, and they move back into the Baron where it needs to be contested. This vision needs to be moved on.
And here we go, the Baron has been started up. This will melt so very fast, even without any Mountain Dragons. The damage coming through from the T-side Steelers is really, really crucial. Look how quickly this Baron is going down, already down to half health. Precision is coming around, looking for the potential flank. Arc the Dragon will lose Mega Narform before he's able to use his ultimate, but in bounces the Cataclysm. This is going to be one kill picked up by Jack. Precision trying his best to clean up the fight.
That's a rough fight.
We're going to see Arc still unkilled in this game as he gets himself one kill. It's going to be everybody apart from Arc dying, however. He can stay deathless all his wants. His team can't manage the same, and the London Lionhearts just swung the game in their favour once more.
Massive, massive swing off the back of that fight. Huge stun from the Jacks, and it wins them it cleanly. Nobody can respond, and it needs to be a miracle steal by Arc the Dragon to turn this one.
Well, he has been pulling off some pretty miracle plays so far, but I don't see a Boomerang taking this one any time soon. He does attempt it, but it's not going to be enough. And as the Boomerang returns to Gnar, the Baron buff will be handed over to the London Lionhearts. They get it on all 5 members.
And on all 5 it needs to be, because you see this 1-3-1 potential when you've got a Zed and a Jax that can turn it on in these fights. That can just split push out the side lanes, force the Malzahar and the Gnar apart, these 2 big engage tools, away from the 5-man unit. And you're just left with Xayah, Jarvan, and Rakan trying to hold mid lane on their own, nowhere near the engage pressure when you look at the fact that they're trying to engage it on a Thresh Sivir.
All of this means that the gold lead has just been equalised by the London Lionhearts. They had a lead, they threw away the lead, they got it back, and now we are dead even. What an incredible game of League of Legends this is.
Yeah, and you still see that even though the game has been so bloody, Arc of the Dragon still hasn't died.
It's sort of his speciality. I remember him having a particularly excellent game on the Gnar last time round.
KDA player. He's just like BDD, all he does is play for KDA.
Do you get to be a KDA player if you're running 4-0-2 and, have only been involved in 6 of your team's 22 kills?
It depends if you play Evelynn, Akali, the fucking Ari, or Kai'Sa. Then you can be a true KDA player.
Oh man, I just got that song stuck back in my head again. Thank you very much, Sid.
No problem, man. No problem. Anytime.
Please no.
That's all I'm here to do is mildly inconvenience you.
Oh, and I appreciate it. Meanwhile, the T-side Steelers, they seem to be being mildly inconvenienced themselves as they find their inner turrets all under siege. We've, of course, got the split pushing Jax. Meanwhile, Zed is in the bot lane, the 3 remaining members pushing in this mid turret. So far, however, the siege has not been successful. They look like they're finally going to get their first turret on the back of the Baron.
Yeah, they're able to at least get the gold closer. They've even taken a lead for the first time in a long time. And the fact that they're picking up all the standing gold is huge for them. We look at the Shojin plus Triforce Jax, and him in the side lane is now able to fully contest the Gnar, even though Gnar is still an item ahead. His items are a lot cheaper, so you look at actually Jax is having pretty even strength.
Yeah, and he's got that Spear of Shojin, which gives a real crucial point for precision, as you were saying there. The 4th dragon of the game is coming. Will Ocean Dragon's mum be delighted to see a hat-trick?
Please no. Give me an actual dragon. Give me Mountain. Give me Infernal. Give me something good. Or even just another Cloud. It's Cloud.
It's a Cloud.
There we go. This is a real good dragon for both teams right now, because we talked about it already with the pressure that Sivir can just exude by just pressing R and then moving the team from lane to lane, or just even denying the all-in engage of T-side has been incredibly relevant this game.
The London Lionheart siege continues. 2 inner turrets already taken through this Baron power play. A 3,000 gold lead has been amassed on the back of that one team fight. Such a crucial shift in momentum through this series.
And it seemed like for a long time T-side were so comfortable with their game, the way the game was going. It seemed like it was really rough early, but after that quadra kill from One More Light, it seemed like they were in control. It seemed like they had the game going the way they wanted it to, but all it took was that one fight at Baron and London. They're in full control of the game again. It's going to take a lot for this to swing back. You need to see members out of position, caught by the pick. Still no QSSs from anyone on London Lionhearts.
That really...
So if Malzahar locks somebody down who's out of position, they are just dead.
That just really concerns me, Sin, and it feels like now that we see this dragons being equalized, 1 ocean and 1 cloud apiece, that if one fight were to be won by the T-side Steelers in the same way the Lionhearts took that fight before the Baron, they could just go and rip the base to shreds.
You know, it does seem really likely at this point. That's why I'm worried. It seems like a lack of respect when you look at the Last Whisper being bought, which costs about 1,300 gold, the exact amount that QSS costs. You're worried about Zed just trying to dive into the back lane, and him being a large portion of the damage just instantly disappearing.
And you were talking earlier on about how the Zed falls off to an extent if it doesn't get super fed. I don't think 6-5-11 is quite super fed enough at this point. It feels like there's enough damage negating coming through from the Steelers to possibly put that Zed off.
Yeah, especially when you look at the GA about to come through from Liam. He bought the Chain Fest, he bought the stopwatch. He should have enough armor to survive a Zed all-in combo.
Well, now the split push is continuing. The 1-3-1 being opted into by the London Lionhearts. They've got to be careful because the T-side Steelers have decided to group as 5. They're trying to Bruce force the mid lane, but they've got to be careful lest they lose an inhibitor in top or bottom.
All they needed to do was push the mid wave out so they could then rotate into the jungle to get these wards down, which denies the 1-3-1 a lot easier because they can roam into the side lanes before a Zed or a Jax can see it coming or look to escape.
How much now is the game becoming about vision once more? You talked about how crucial it is and how you can deny the vision, stop any potential picks coming through. It feels like the Steelers are doing a better job of clearing things out, but the London Lionhearts, because of the push they got through that Baron buff, are able to get deeper and deeper into the opposition jungle.
This game is still so close, it's impossible to tell which way this will go 100%, because even though London has the control, it's so easy for them to lose it. We talked about how they could lose it off of the back of a single play like this when somebody gets caught out of position.
That was Godmid getting caught, and it's going to be Lovesy who gets the kill though, because that is a death push coming in. Double kill being completely a nice demolition from the side. Lovesick putting
still
that
alive.
one through. But look at what Xayah's doing, and once more, guess who's alive? It's Art the Dragon trying to get himself away from Precision, trying to keep his deathless mantra intact, and he manages it, and his boomerang almost comes back through Godmid on the way to pick up a kill of his own. However, now we do see only the bot lane of London Lionhearts dead, and only the top lane of T-side Steelers alive. Can this Baron be taken down with a Jax, a Zed, and a Elise? I'm pretty sure the answer is yes.
They should be able to take this, the Jax able to tank it up. It means that the Elise is going to be able to heal off of the Spiderlings as well. This should be theirs for the taking. Cinero is too far away, but it is taking quite a while.
I really want to see Zed attacking this. He's got so much damage that he can put down. He's got the Black Cleaver. He's got all that AD, but he's just hovering around the pit. And this is opening up the door for the potential steal. Jarvan is slowly arriving. The Baron is on 3,000 health. Precision and Lovesick are taking this one low. Here comes the teleport to make sure that London Lionhearts can secure this objective. They managed to get it just in time, but now the fight.
Can they get out?
The Baron buff being lost on a few members. The dashboard is good. It forces Repel out of the enemy. She uses the blast cone to get herself to safety, and it looks like the great escape has been accomplished. The London Lionhearts get all 5 Baron buffs, but Casemiro hasn't had enough of it yet. He has to find the chase, stop the chase, as the turret is all that is lying between him and the London Lionhearts as they recall.
And it's going to take a little while to get the tempo back on the map, to get these minion waves pushed out again, but you have to think that London Lions, with this Baron buff, should be able to take the game, even if they lose this tower.
Casemiro decides to go in deep. Drazar follows with him, and it is going to be the most heroic of entrances from him. Meanwhile, the Dragon does manage to get a decent and Zay's taken down Zed. One member of the London Lionhearts is missing, and now make that 2. Both of their key AD damages are out of there, and this Baron buff being secured by the London Lionhearts. It's the Steelers who are cleaning up the fight. Goes in, he gets the kill. That is going to be the Malzahar dropping down, but look at the game. T-side Steelers, they may have just swept this one because Regan is the only thing standing between the Steelers and a 2-0 win. London Lionhearts, they may have just thrown in at the final hurdle. They got the Baron, but they lost their base. The T-side Steelers are going to go 2-0 here in week 2 of the Belong Arena Clash Group B.
They tried to defend their tower. They tried not to give up anything when they've got the Baron, when they just needed to reset, play it safe for a moment, but that moment was what T-side needed to be able to make the engage happen when all the cooldowns were gone. The Sivir ult was gone, and then Sivir's life was gone. They have no wave clear. They have no ability to survive. They have no DPS. And the fight goes away. They lose all 4 members. And there's only 1 left to stop the Nexus going down. It was too little, too late. And wow, T-side, the punish that they pull on even the smallest play was really huge there in London. They just weren't being let away with any kind of mistake.
Casemiro there cancelling recalls, I believe, 4 times from the Baron buff empowered members of the London Lionhearts, essentially forcing the fight. It looked like he'd gone so very deep with that Cataclysm, but the follow-up was there, and the Steelers showed how well they can execute these team fights. They come to take this series, they defeat last season's finalists, and put themselves in such a good position to try and get out of groups.
And T-side, we said that they had opportunities to come back into the game. We were looking at the Malzahar yet again, but once again, it's Casemiro showing up time and time again. Every single engage, every single fight, it was off of his back.
Alrighty, well, that was a pretty phenomenal performance. Do you have a real standout MVP from that series? Is it your KDA player in the top lane?
See, I loved Arc the Dragon this series, but that particular game, I have to say, it's Casemiro for me. That particular game was all off the back of his plays early, his plays mid, his plays late. It's just, the Gnar was big, the Gnar was safe, and the Gnar was a DPS threat when the Xayah fell down. But the Gnar wasn't the reason they won the game.
Yeah, and I think that's only fair. And also, a lot of love to him. Apologies if I called him Casemiro in that. It was only because, he had all the potential of the Real Madrid midfielder, who was one of the upcoming influential players. And I just, saw all that skill coming through from him as well. I just got the two a little mixed up. Casemiro, absolutely phenomenal performance. And the same can be said for the London Lionhearts. The same can also, of course, be said for the Bristol Smugglers. My boys, that cracking with the eye patch, doing it every single time. And when these two teams meet, the Steelers and the Smugglers, you've got to say that is going to be one explosive old game, just like all of our series have been tonight. Belong Arena Clash Week 2 wraps up with a win for the Steelers after the win for the Bristol Smugglers. Those two teams now at 2-0 in the Group B table. For now, though, that is all the action we have. I've been Stanley Greyheart Barker. This, of course, is Stuart Sin McLeod. We'll see you next time.